round of applause for her. She's unavailable. So can we have Inyoluwa instead for the opening prayer? Are you? Yeah. Please, a round of applause for her.
Let me do like I'm in the church. Hallelujah. Good morning, everybody. Welcome. Let me lead us in the opening prayer. In Jesus' name. In the mighty name of Jesus. Father, thank you for this opportunity. Thank you for this name, the still waters. You lead us beside the still waters. Our souls are refreshed. We thank you for this mental health foundation. And we thank you because of your blessings upon it. Father, be glorified in Jesus' name. As we start, let the name, the still waters, be evident in our lives. Let it be evident in this foundation. And let this foundation grow in the name of Jesus. Thank you because you hear us. In Jesus' name we have prayed.
Please, a round of applause for her again. May we all rise for the national anthem. So we'll be taking the three anthems, the national anthem, the state anthem, and Lautech anthem. Thank you. Media.
National anthem.
The state anthem. Lautech anthem.
Lautech anthem.
We sing, oh Lautech, your promotion of applied sciences. Oh, see the spectrum greatest one of us, always stand for excellence. Great mountain, greatest one of us, integrity and service. Integrity and service. Integrity and service.
We may please have our seats. A round of applause for us. A better round of applause for us. Like I said, we are still in the morning, and I expect our energy to be on 100. Okay, so we have some technical issues that will be solved in the next 5 minutes. Until then. Convention. Please, a round of applause for ourselves for making it here today. Like, it's so beautiful to see young people who are passionate about mental health gather together in an auditorium to learn, unlearn, relearn, and also network. I feel so glad to see our faces, and it's also beautiful to know that we do not only have students of the Lautech community present here today, we also have students from other communities around Lautech. Please, a round of applause for yourselves. And to the non-Ladokites present in the auditorium, I would like to officially welcome you. This is Ogbomosho, and our hospitality is top-notch. Am I lying? So our hospitality is top-notch, and I believe that you've been organized. Some of them are living with mental health illnesses, and they don't even know. So this is the purpose of a convention like this, for all of us to come together and learn from powerhouses in the mental health space. And of course, we have some of them present in our midst today. And I'll be doing a proper introduction of them while I bring them to the eye table. So we know how we do it. We are students, and I expect us to be really, really energetic. I want to see the zeal, the energy, the zest. I want to see everything in us this morning. So if you know you are ready, can somebody say TheStillWaters? I think we're coming up. That's like 2/10. Yes, 2/10. If you know you're excited to be here this morning, can you say TheStillWaters? Okay, that's like 4/10. So if you know you are excited to be in this auditorium this morning for the Maiden edition of the TheStillWaters Mental Health Foundation National Convention, can somebody say the uprising of a mentally aware student? I know that by the time we get to the midpoint at this event, we all will understand why we are here today. So we'll be doing the superstars clap for these powerhouses that I say. Somebody say powerhouses. Like I said, there are powerhouses in the mental health space, and I would like to bring them to the eye table with all honor and diligence. Very distinguished ladies and gentlemen, please welcome with me with a sounding applause. I repeat, a sounding applause, Professor Alfred Akimbo Adegoke. Please, a round of applause. On a standing ovation, please. On a standing ovation, I would like to bring him to the eye table. Thank you very much, sir, for coming. We are indeed delighted, honored, and more than glad to have you in our midst today. And we are so glad to see you, sir. Thank you very much for coming. Please, a round of applause for Professor Alfred Akimbo Adegoke. Thank you. Just before we have our seats, I would like us to also welcome with me, very distinguished ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Mrs. Buhari. Please, a round of applause for her. Thank you very much, ma, for coming. We are delighted to see you. We are glad to see your beautiful face. And of course, would love to have you next time. So just before we have our seats for the last time, before we have the arrival of our other dignitaries, I would like us to welcome with me Dr. Oluwafisayo Adenike Adebimpe. Please a round of applause for her. You look very beautiful, radiant, elegant, and adorable. And we love to see your face all the time. Thank you very much, ma, for coming. We may please have our seats. So while we await the arrival of our other dignitaries, we just did a bit of introduction, and when it is time, we'll be reading their bios and citations. And of course, we all would learn from how they've been able to build a name in that space. And the next thing on the order of shadow is the welcome address. This young man I'm about to bring on stage deserves a very beautiful round of applause. It deserves some accolades. It deserves some kudos because it takes a whole lot to bring a team together to organize the first of its kind mental health convention in Ladoke Akintola University of Technology. Does it deserve some applause? Please welcome with me very distinguished ladies and gentlemen, esteemed guests. Welcome with me Oyewole Tomishi. Please a round of applause for him. Please keep clapping till he gets here. He deserves a better round of applause. So for the next few minutes, he has the stage.
Good morning, all. I'm Oyewole Tomishi, the founder of... Good morning. Good morning, all. I'm Oyewole Tomishi, the founder of TheStillWaters Mental Health Foundation. It's an honor to stand and speak before you all. I'm immensely grateful to each and every one of you for your presence here today. The entire vision was birthed 4 years ago on this day, November 3rd, 2019. Which is also our Vision Day. And looking back at where we were then, I couldn't have possibly imagined that in such a short time, this is how far we will have come. We really couldn't have pulled this off without the hard work and dedication that several of you have put in. Your being here today fills my heart with joy, and I'm beyond excited to see this event, the result of our hard work, unfold. I would like to specially thank a way to learn from you, and I'm sure it's the same for everyone here else today. And so I would like to formally welcome you all to this symposium. As we all know, the theme is the uprising of the mentally aware student, battle against depression and addiction. It's an opportunity to learn, relearn, and unlearn several ideas and concepts. In general, it's an avenue for growth and help, and I'm sure that we all here are ready to learn. I hope that in this event, you will learn and be inspired from the keynote speaker to the panel session, all the way to the very end. I hope that in every session, questions that have burdened our hearts are answered. And you will leave here significantly impacted. As earlier mentioned, in the course of this event, there will be an address by the keynote speaker, after which we'll have giveaways, then a panel session, where you'll be able to ask questions and have them answered by experts. And several other interesting activities will also unfold. It's also encouraged that we network so we get to know one another. It's lovely to have you all here, and I believe with all my heart that this event will be very impactful. One that will make a difference in our mental health and lives in general, and will not be forgotten in a hurry. Once again, I welcome you all, and I hope we have an amazing time. Thank you.
Please, a round of applause for Tumishe Oyewole. So, like I said, I think it's a very huge feat to be doing something like this. And like I said, it's the first of its kind in the Lautech community. And it's a whole lot for us. It calls for celebration, it's history making, and of course we look forward to the next edition. Please, a round of applause for him. It takes a lot to bring together a team to achieve something like this. And I'm indeed elated to be hosting this event today because it means I'm also a part of history making. Without wasting much of our time, we'd now have the citation of the keynote speaker. But before then, I want us to adopt a theme for today, like our slogan for today. Are we ready? Are we ready? Like I said, we are students, so I expect that our energy should be on 100. So when I say TSW, we all respond with battle against depression and addiction. When I say TSW, we all respond with battle against depression and addiction. Are we ready? TSW. That's like a 3/10. Like we are not even there yet. We are not even close. Are we hungry? We've had breakfast this morning. To the best of my knowledge, we've all had breakfast. If you know you've not had breakfast, just stylishly do like this. Just do like this stylishly. Don't worry, I just want to see. We've all had breakfast. So please, when I say TSW, we all respond with battle against depression and addiction. TSW. My voice is even louder than everybody's voice combined. TSW. TSW. Please, a round of applause for ourselves. A better round of applause. We deserve a round of applause. Thank you. So I'd like to invite Miss Zuri to take the citation of our keynote speaker. Like I said, I already gave us the gist that our keynote speakers, guests, and panelists are people who are powerhouses in their own spaces. Like they are forces, and it took a lot for the team to source for our keynote speakers and our panelists. If you know you're excited to listen to them, make some noise. If you know you're excited to listen to them, make some noise. So I believe we have Mixuri. I believe she's prepared and she's close. So please give her a round of applause and keep clapping till she gets on stage. As you can see, she looks very beautiful and radiant. So she'll be taking the citation of our keynote speaker. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. It's lovely to be here. My name is Zuri. I served in several capacities, including but not limited to Director, Center for Supportive Services for the Deaf, Director, Consultant Services Center, Dean, Faculty of Education, all in the University of Ilorin at different times. He's a fellow and a former president of the Counseling Association of Nigeria and a founding member of the Association of Professional Counselors in Nigeria. He is currently the principal investigator and coordinator of the University of Ilorin Tertiary Institution and Mental Health Care Program. He has served as a consultant to a number of national and international organizations, including ECOWAS, UNFPA, UNESCO, Commonwealth Youth Programs, Association of West Africa Universities, Center for Strategic and International Studies, International Youth Foundation, the Federal Republic of Liberia, and the Federal Ministry of Youth Development, Abuja, Nigeria. Professor Adegoke was appointed by the ECOWAS Commission to develop the first ever youth policy for the entire ECOWAS sub-region. He was also appointed consultant to review the national youth policy and implementation strategy of the Federal Republic of Nigeria in 2007. This was in conjunction with the United Nations Population Fund. He was the first consultant that produced the first Youth Development Index for Nigeria in 2008. In 2012, Professor Adegoke was appointed by the UNFPA as an international consultant to help develop the National Youth Policy and Action Plan for the Republic of Liberia. Professor Adegoke was appointed a UNESCO consultant in 2012, after which he was appointed member of the Commonwealth Youth Development Index Tertiary Advisory Committee. Professor Adegoke was a member of the review committee in the development of a global youth index in Washington, D.C., in partnership with the International Youth Foundation. He also worked with the Universal Basic Education to develop the curriculum and text for guidance and counseling practices in Nigeria. He has also worked as a resource person with the civil society organizations and other non-governmental organizations. He has also served as a member of the NUC accreditation panel. His research efforts have gravitated around issues surrounding adolescents and youth development. These include the conduct of needs assessment on youth and gender issues, such as youth unemployment, mental health issues, drug use among young people and adolescents, teenage pregnancy, violence, the HIV/AIDS pandemic, and several other issues. These efforts have resulted in well over 60 research publications published in both national and international publications. He currently serves as editor-in-chief, also editorial board members of more than 6 national and international peer-reviewed journals. He's also a member of the advisory board of social aspects of HIV/AIDS Research Alliance in South Africa and has been a visiting professor in the United States of America. Professor Adegoke has shown leadership at national and international levels in his field. He combines a remarkable ability to achieve with the unusual ability to rally people around. He's a strong believer in people and in creating the right atmosphere for people to attain their full potential. He truly is a committed and resourceful leader, and it's our pleasure and our honor to have him in our midst today. So can we please have a round of applause for Professor Adegoke? Thank you very much.
Slideshow so I can just tweak slideshow. Good, I'm happy this adapter is working. It's working permanently here. Do you still have to go current on it? Sir? Do you have current on it? I think oh, you could leave me till the end. Good morning, everybody. Let me recognize the dignitaries that are present here, officials of the university that are here present, our invited speakers that are present here, the organizers of this very important program, and all dear students that are here present, distinguished ladies and gentlemen that are present here today. It gives me great pleasure to be here this morning to make this presentation. And I want to begin by congratulating the men and women behind the TheStillWaters Mental Health Foundation for this maiden edition of the conference. I am so delighted because for the first time I am seeing an important issue like this for young people, driven by the young people themselves. And for me, I think that's the best thing that can happen to this country, to see that young people are the ones talking about issues that affect them. Young people are the ones driving this very important issue. And for that reason, I want to salute Mr. Tumisho Iwale and all the people working with him to bring this project to be. I am going to go straight to my presentation, and I have a short outline here of what my discussions would look like this morning. I'll be looking at, maybe we should start with the definition of mental health. What is mental health? It's, before you can begin to talk about mental ill health, you need to know what mental health is. So I'm going to begin my discussion this morning with you on trying to define what mental health is. Yeah. Any of the side. You can go in this side or that side. Yeah. It's better to be on the safe side. Yeah. No. Up. That's right. No. Yeah. Right. Yeah. To get the connection put together. I think we got it now. Yeah. So I was talking, first is we'll talk about mental health and trying to define what mental health is. And the next thing I probably will be talking about is looking at the components of mental wellness for young persons like you. What are the different components of mental health? Mental health is not just one straight thing. It has components. And we're going to look at these components and how they interact so that we can better understand the issue before us. The next thing I'd like to talk about is statistics. You know, sometimes it's very helpful to talk about the stats, talk about the statistics. What's going on? What's the prevalence of mental health among young people like you? And you'll be shocked at the statistics that I have. We'll look at that briefly globally, and then we'll look at sub-Saharan Africa, and then we'll look at Nigeria, just to give you an idea how serious this problem is. And then I will talk about common mental health symptoms in young people. Sometimes we all need to know what the symptoms are. We may be suffering from one form of mental health issue or the other. We don't even know. Many people don't know that they have a mental health problem. So today I'll take you through some symptoms that I'm sure most people around you have one form of mental issue or the other. So we're going to discuss the symptoms and just run through them, and then you can look at yourself in a mirror and see whether you have any of those symptoms. And once, the better to nip it in the bud. Is teaching time saves 9. Once you notice certain things, you get some help very quickly, and that's be helpful. We're also going to look at the triggers. What are the things that trigger mental health issue? It doesn't just happen like that. There are issues that serve as trigger, jump-off points that trigger up, and you want to be very careful to watch out for these triggers. And once you know the triggers, you can prevent them, because you can avoid these triggers so that you don't get yourself triggered up in that direction. So I'm going to run through that as well. And then what can we do? What can be done about this mental health issue? How do we approach it? I'm also going to give you a few recommendations, some recommendations that will help this foundation, will help the government, will help this great university, and some of the things that we can do. And then I'm going to conclude, give you a conclusion as we talk about. So let's begin with the definition of mental health. Health, according to WHO, is defined as a state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being. Many times when we talk about health, we just talk about our physical well-being. We look at whether we have headache or anything affecting us physically, but health is all encompassing. It has to do with your physical, your mental, and your social well-being. And mental health is not just the absence of disease or infirmities. A lot of us think that, oh, okay, since I am not going to the hospital, I don't have headache, that doesn't necessarily mean that you have a perfect health. And that's very important for us to put at the back of our minds. Then what is mental health itself? Mental health is a state of well-being in which the individual is capable of realizing his own potential. First of all, that's the first thing. You have to be able to know what your potentials are. And then realize that you have potential, realize what your potentials are. And then you should be able to cope with normal stresses of life. Life, it's very stressful. And as a matter of fact, we need some level of stress to survive and to live. So there are stress that you have every day. Waking up, going to class, traveling, jumping into one vehicle or the other. These are stressful things. But for somebody who has a healthy mental health, he must be able to cope with these little stresses of life that are necessary so that you can begin to go on in life. He must be able to work productively. Then you can be said to be mentally healthy. Do your work, go to school, read, prepare for your exam, or do your job, whatever you're doing, in a productive manner and, in a fruitful way. And finally, you must be able to make contribution to your society or to your community. So if you ask me, this is a very brief definition of someone who is mentally healthy. So ask yourself, are you mentally healthy? If you are, you have to be able to realize what your abilities are, what your potentials are. You must be able to deal with the normal stress of life, because there is stress everywhere. There's a minimal level of stress we all need to be able to function. You have to be productive, and you have to be able to make contributions. And then mental health. What are the components of mental health? We need to understand this so that we can deal with this issue very well. And these components, there are basically 3 components here that I'll talk to you about. And they all interact together. So when we're talking about mental wellness or mental health, you have to think in terms of these 3 components every time. The first one is the cognitive aspect. Your cognition has to do with your thinking, ability to think straight, ability to process issues and think in a productive manner. So your cognitive aspect, your cognitive domain, is a very important component of your mental wellness. If you're not able to think straight, if you're not able to process things very well, then something is wrong somewhere. So mental wellness has the first component is cognition, or your cognitive domain, your cognitive aspect, which is your thinking ability. The second aspect is your emotion, your mind, your emotional part. And all of us are emotional human beings. We feel happy, we feel sad, we relate. Our emotion is very important. So a very important component of your mental wellness is your emotion. And we're going to look at that. And the third part, and the final part, is the behavioral part. Your behavior, your action. And all these three components are related. It starts with your thinking, then it affects your emotion, and then it affects your behavior. So most of your behavior derives from these three levels. You start thinking about it first. If your thinking is warped, if your thinking is convoluted, your mind will become convoluted. Your mind will become affected. And if your mind is convoluted, your behavior will be convoluted. So you can see that these three components are interrelated. One part feeds the other. You can't take one part separately and say you're well in one part. In fact, if you're not well in one part, it will trickle down to your behavior. People don't just behave. You don't just see people behave the way they behave. It starts with their thinking, and then starts with their mind, their emotion, and then it shows in their behavior. So it's important to know that these three components of mental wellness, we have to target them, and we have to know that they actually interact and work together. Now, let me talk to you a bit about the statistics as we globally, and this is very scary, very worrisome, the kind of statistics that we have here. Globally, nearly 15% of young people, 15% of young people globally, between the ages of 10 and 19, experience a mental health disorder, accounting for about 13% of the global burden of disease in this age group. And this statistics is from WHO. And this is pretty high when you think of globally, and you think about 15%, and you think about the age range, young people. So this thing about mental health is a big issue among young people. And that's why I'm happy that a foundation like this one is driven by young people and focusing on a major need among young people. And this is really, in 2018, between 2018 and 2019, about 15% of adolescents, 15% of adolescents between the ages of 12 and 17 years, they had a major depressive episode. Not just a mild one, a major depressive episode. And you know what depression can do to you when you have a major depressive episode? It can throw you completely off your curve. And we're saying that 15% of young people between 12 and 17 have had major depressive episode. And 37% of them have had persistent feelings of hopelessness and sadness. And you know, the adolescent stage is a very difficult stage. It's a transition between childhood and adulthood, where you're trying to become a man, trying to become an adult. And that transition can be very traumatic. It's stressful. It's a period of storm and stress. You grow physically, you grow, and sometimes the growth can be awkward. You experience certain things you have not experienced. For the girls, they had their first menses for the first time. And if you're not prepared for that experience, it can be very traumatic. First, what we call menarche, the first menstruation. And these days, it's coming earlier than it used to. In those good old days, you find the women get their first menarche at 15, 16. But these days, things have changed. For young girls at the age of 10, we've seen 8 and 9. And what do you want to do with a 9-year-old who starts menstruating? You know, and the idea of issuing out blood alone is traumatic. Imagine if nobody supports that teenager and suddenly he has to deal with that. So there are big issues about the adolescents and where they're going. And a lot of them are suffering from depression. A lot of them are having to go through a lot of mental health issues. And this is why parents, again, need to support the psychological support for adolescents who are in transition, who are going through this teenage age, experiencing new things, developing primary and secondary sexual characteristics. They need a lot of support because that in itself can be very, very traumatic. And these are the kinds of things that I think we need to begin to address. Young people like you, this foundation, we need to begin to provide support and help young people deal with issues like this. In sub-Saharan Africa, 1 out of every 7 children, and we're talking about young people here now, adolescents, teenagers, young adults, 1 out of every 7, and that's a serious one. Children and adolescents, that's about 14.3%, suffer from what? From major psychological problem. 1 out of 7 suffer from, you can think of the future of those children. You can think of how many children and young people and teenagers are affected. You can think of many of them out there not getting any form of help and having to go through. And no wonder our society is the way it is. If we don't do something to help and to support young people going through these difficult times, it might not be a good thing at all. So, and some of these, qualify for psychiatric diagnosis. In Nigeria, the prevalence of mental illness among adolescents ranges between 13.4 to 49%. That's about half. 49%, that's pretty high. This is scary. It's shocking to find out that almost half of young people, adolescents, because it's between 13.4 to 49%, they suffer from mental illness, one form of mental illness or the other. And that's why I'm glad that we're talking about this issue today. We have a whole summit about this, and I'm sure that all of you will become partners. We can help ourselves. And I'm glad you're young. It's not about us old people talking to you about this now. You're the one talking about it. And you will be the one to drive it. You will be the one to support yourselves and to make sure that we all get a better future and a better Nigeria. And statistics continue. 1 out of every 6 Nigerian, and that's serious. 1 out of every 6 Nigerian between the age of 15 and 24, and this is a UNICEF statistics, is suffering from what? Poor mental health. So that means if you count 1, 2, 3, 6 of you, 1 out of that 6 is suffering from a poor mental health situation. So it's an epidemic. It's a serious matter. And we need to begin to talk about this. It needs to be a front burner issue for government. Unfortunately, not much is coming from government to address this issue, but it is a serious issue. And that's why we have all the problems we're having today in society. Unless we begin to deal with this issue and support young people, then it's not going to be good at all. A study in Nigeria found out that the prevalence of depression among adolescents ranges between 4.2 to 13.6%. So you see, a lot of young people are depressed, just depressed. And if nothing is done to arrest it, it becomes severe depression. And that can be an episode in itself. And that can throw a young man or a young lady completely off the cuff. And that's a serious one. Now let's talk about the symptoms. You're all seated here today. And we all need, when we talk about mental health, stop pointing fingers at the other person. We actually all need to look. You see, mental health is on a continuum. You know, it starts from here and it goes on. So everybody is somewhere on the continuum. It's just that for some it's a little more severe than others. But all of us suffer from one form of mental disorder or the other. And it's good for you to pick it on time. And then you can get help. And then you can live a better life. Number one, extreme. When you notice you have mood swings. You know what mood swings are? You just swing from one extreme to another. In the morning, you're a little happy, you're high, you want to just go out there. And by evening, you're so sad. You can't explain where the sadness is coming from. You're so deeply, deeply sad. And you can't put your hand on what's making you sad. But you just find that you're sad. Now, when you have these mood swings like this, then you need to watch out. You need to check out and make sure that you get some help. Because mood swings, extreme mood, and I'm talking about extreme. No, we all wake up on the wrong side of the bed sometimes, and you just feel bad, you know, and then you get over it. You know, I'm not talking about things like that. You know, things affect us. But when you start having extreme mood swing, severe mood swing from one end to another end, then there might be a problem there. And you may want to check it out. The next thing is low energy. You don't have the push. Any small thing you get tired, your energy level is low. And this is not you before. You used to be able to do stuff. And when you start experiencing low level energy, you can't seem to get anything done. The moment you try, you get tired, you get exhausted, not because you're physically sick or anything. Your energy level is just low. Then you want to begin to be careful and check. Could there be something that is wrong? And then, you know, problem with sleeping. Sleeping is very important. If you don't sleep well, you're likely to break down. And I know many young people who I talk to, and they have sleeping problem. They wake up at 3 a.m. and they can't sleep. They can't go to bed early. When you have problem with sleep and it's persistent, please talk to someone, seek for some help. It might just be that there is something happening to you that needs to be taken care of. Reduced ability to concentrate. You can't concentrate on anything. You are in class and you can only concentrate for 5 minutes. And your mind is off. You don't seem to follow the lessons you're taking in class. You can't focus on anything. You can't begin anything and finish it. When you notice those kinds of inability to focus and to concentrate, then there might be a problem there, and you might want to check it out. Excessive fears or worry. You get worried over every little thing. You get worried that your biro may break, somebody might steal your bag, something might happen to you. Jump into a taxi, you're worried that the taxi might crash. You're worried about everything. Excessive worry, you're afraid of just anything. Thoughts, and you're climbing a staircase and you're afraid that you might fall off. And these excessive fears and worries over a little thing is an indication of something. It might just be that you have an issue somewhere and you might need to get some help. Extreme feelings of guilt. You never forgive yourself. You're guilty. Maybe something happened to somebody around you and you keep thinking you are the cause. You know, somebody somewhere is passing and the person trips and falls. Has no connection with you. And you start feeling you are the one that caused it. You know, those excessive guilt feelings might be an indication that something is wrong. Withdrawal from friends and activities when you suddenly don't feel like meeting with your friends. You don't feel like going out for games. You don't feel like socializing at all. You just want to be alone. That's not a good sign. It's not a good sign at all. When you feel like you want to be alone, you don't want to talk to anybody, the people who are your friends that you go out with, you don't want to go out with anybody, you just want to be alone. That's dangerous. That's not a good one. And you want to watch out for that and make sure that you get some help. You know, detachment from reality. Sometimes we have what in psychology we call delusion of grandeur. You start thinking and having beliefs that are not realistic. You know, even when the facts are there, you start making some deduction, start believing in something that is not realistic. It doesn't make sense. It's been like being deluded, believing and acting and thinking in a way that is not realistic. When you start having that, or you start seeing yourself, having an inflated opinion of yourself, and having, you know, a delusion of grandeur, then something is there. Hallucinations also come in, and these are indications. Inability to cope with daily problems. I mentioned that. Daily issues, small things that you should deal with. You get tired. You're not able to deal with going from classes to doing your assignments. These are normal things that any student should be able to take his lessons, do your assignments, do other things. But when you have problem coping with attending lectures, doing assignments, doing basic things, you find yourself not able to put that together, then there's a problem there, and we need to look at it. Trouble understanding and relating to situations and the people. Everybody, you're just difficult. You can't relate to anybody. You're fighting with your roommates. You're fighting with everybody. You are not able to just relate with people. You're not able to relate with situation. Every time you just find that, you know, somebody is trying to hurt you or somebody is talking about you, even when the person is not talking about you. Now, those are issues you want to just look at. And then when you start using alcohol, alcohol is a gateway behavior. In psychology, there's what we call a gateway behavior. If you smoke cigarettes, cigarette is a gateway behavior, you're likely down the line to smoke marijuana. Down the line, because it's a gateway behavior. If you use alcohol, alcohol is a gateway behavior. You're likely to use other drugs. And some of this gateway behavior, we engage in them, and we don't know. And you see, you just go deeper. They just lead you to something else, to something else, to something else. So if you're a young person here and you're using alcohol, you use alcohol because you want to cover up something. You want to get high, you want to feel a little excitement. And that's a problem. So when you use, and a lot of young people on campuses today are using drugs. We have experience at the University of Ilorin, and Dr. Buhari will tell you more. What we're doing at the university, we have a testing center at the health center to test for all sorts of drugs. And you will be shocked what we find among students, both male and female, boys and girls, who are using all kinds of drugs. And this is terrible. This is terrible. Then, sometimes you might have major changes in your eating habits. Sometimes you just find that your eating habit has changed. You don't even have appetites to eat at all. And then you just starve yourself. You're not able to eat. That's a problem. And you want to check for that, if that happens to you. On the other hand, you might have this desire to just eat everything. You eat excessively. That's a problem. When you just find yourself, you eat and eat and eat, and you never really get to be satisfied. So when there's a major change, you're not like that before, but suddenly there's a major change in your eating habit. Either you're not eating, or you're eating too much. That is a big indication that there's a problem there, and we need to look at it. Sex drive, when you start having impulsive sex drive and urges, and you go on excessive pornographic sites, you get hooked on some of this thing, that's a big indication that you have a problem. And you need some help to get off the hook. Because that's a gateway behavior too. Once you get into that, you get deeper and deeper and deeper in it, and you become hooked, and it affects you mentally. And those are issues. Excessive anger, if you find yourself getting angry excessively, it's okay to get angry. We all get angry every once in a while. But when you get angry and you break stuff around you, you get angry and you do things that are just not good. You push stuff, push people, and break things. I've seen people who, when they get angry, they just break stuff around them. Now that's a problem. That's a serious problem. And you need to get help. When you become violent, when you become hostile, and you see somebody who is quiet, gentle, you think he's quiet, but when he gets angry, he gets overboard. That's a problem. And then, of course, suicidal thinking. When you start thinking suicidal ideation, you start thinking of taking your life. And we have a lot of that on campus, a lot of issues that are coming upon young people, and they take their lives. And all of that, I believe, we have to do something about. Now, let's talk about the triggers. What are the triggers of mental health problems? What is the thing that triggers it? What is the thing that jump-starts it? You see, if you're able to prevent these triggers, you might just be fine. So you need to know what are the things that trigger mental health. And I'll run through some of them very quickly for you now. The first thing I need you to know is a history of mental illness in your family. If you have an uncle, a cousin, somebody down in your line, and usually we know this because close family people who have had a mental health issue, somehow, that is a trigger point. Now, it doesn't mean that you will have a mental health issue just because you have somebody in your family who has it. But that makes you vulnerable. It makes you disposed to it. So you want to be careful. So first of all, watch. Ask your mom, ask your dad, ask your uncle, is there any close relation that has suffered from a mental health issue? If you have, it doesn't mean you're sentenced to it. It doesn't mean it will happen to you. It doesn't mean that that's a bad thing. All it means is that you're vulnerable. And when you're vulnerable, you just take care, that's all. You just make sure you protect yourself and you'll be free. Low socioeconomic status. We're told that 133 million Nigerians are living in multi-dimensional poverty. And that's a serious thing. And government is not doing anything about that. That means they have no access to education, little or no access to health, little or no access to basic infrastructure, potable water, and that's serious. Now, poverty is not a good thing. Poverty is stressful. I mean, when you see people under abject poverty, there's no way it will affect their emotions and their mental well-being. So poverty is not a good thing. That's why government must do everything to alleviate. If we want a mentally healthy society, we must alleviate poverty. It's not acceptable to have 133 million, 60% of Nigerians living in multi-dimensional poverty. And our politicians are busy doing what they want and not caring for the people. Now, that's a problem. Next thing is traumatic experiences. If you've had a traumatic experience, maybe you were involved in a military combat or kidnapped. I've had to deal with many victims that were kidnapped and released from kidnap after their parents or family paid ransom. The trauma of being in a kidnapper's den can stay with you for life and can be a problem. And this is a post-traumatic stress disorder that happen, and it does happen. So if you've had such experience, maybe a terrorist attack, a lot of families, a lot of young people have watched their parents being killed in their presence. Now that's traumatic. And things like that can trigger a mental health issue that would not have been there. But these kinds of experiences can trigger. Or maybe the death of a loved one, somebody very close to you, somebody, I mean, it can be difficult and challenging when you lose a significant other, a significant person in your life. And sometimes, if care is not taken, those things can be like triggers that can trigger use of alcohol. I have mentioned that, of course, can trigger. Otherwise, you will be okay. But because you use alcohol and use recreational drug, it can trigger, it can open the can of worm. It can jumpstart mental illness in your life. And then a childhood history of neglect and abuse. Some children grown up in families that are neglected, have child abuse. Those things are pointers, are triggers. But if they get help on time, they may never degenerate into having the problem at all. A few friends, no friends at all, and no healthy relationship. This is and I have academic stress, and I put that in bold here, because I know we're all students. You have a number of carryovers. Each time you do the course, you're carrying over, or you spill over, and you spill again. You know, you have students like that, and I've seen students who carry so many courses. They try, and the carryovers are just lingering. They're not able to cope, and then they spill over and spill again the second time. Now, this can be very, very stressful, and it can open, it can trigger mental illness. And I've seen many students who have gone trying to deal with their academic situation and have gone into serious mental illness. These are causes of mental illness: work-related stress, relationship stress, financial stress, parenting stress, health issues. When you have serious health issues, can also lead to some of these, and life changes. All of these are problems. Now, triggers also, a previous mental illness. Now, these things can be handled. If you discover it on time, you get help from a psychiatrist, you can be helpful. So if you have a previous mental illness, you need to be careful. You need to watch it. Then you must use your drugs. If you are using drugs, poor compliance with your medication. If you're on medication, please comply. Nothing wrong. I mean, it's just like somebody who's on diabetes uses his drugs, or somebody on hypertension. And we're told once you have diagnosed with hypertension, you use your drug for life. But people are doing it, and they're okay. So if you have a mental health issue, and you have to use some drug, please use those drugs. Be faithful using, absolutely nothing wrong in using the drugs. Because if you don't, it may trigger another episode. And the more episodes you have, the bad for you. You want to keep it down. And maybe someday you just walk out of it and you'll be fine. So use your medication. Then you also, if you have an ongoing medical condition, especially things like epilepsy, that comes once in a while, can be very traumatic. And it can also trigger a mental health. You can also have brain damage, accident. People have had blow at their head, or fell down with their head, or had a terrible accident, and they have brain injury or some kind of concussion in the head. That can also lead to mental health. So you want to check that. If you've had an incident like that, that can be checked. Pregnancy and labor birth complications can also bring issues. And that's why women must be supported at birth. Family and friends should be around, because the process of giving birth itself can throw someone completely off the curve and trigger an otherwise latent mental illness that has been there because of the stress and the trauma. So again, we need to get help. Neonatal and childhood infection. What can we do? I'm winding down now. So that what do we do? If all these things are like this, what can we do? What can you and I do to promote our mental health and our mental wellness? That is the goal. The first thing you need to do, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, you need to adopt a healthy lifestyle habits. Even if these triggers are there in your life, you can prevent it if you do the following things. Have a healthy lifestyle habit. Eat a balanced diet. Make sure you You know, there are many things around us that can give us, you don't have to have a lot of money to eat a balanced diet. There are things that just eat healthy and eat a balanced diet. That's very important. Get enough sleep. Sleeping, if I have, one of the biggest problems, if I have a deficit of sleep for some time, and I work hard a lot, and I do a lot of things, I've had to be on the road in the last 2 weeks doing enough things, and sometimes I work late and I have deficit of sleep. You can't cheat nature. And I find out that if I don't correct it quickly, I break down. It affects me. So what I do, I know how my body, I am the owner of my body, so I know how I feel. When I get to that point, I know I need to get some rest. So if you don't have enough sleep, it is a big issue, and it can trigger a mental health issue from you. Do some physical activity. Don't just live a sedentary life. Don't just isolate yourself. Get out there, do some exercises. Walk around, go to the gym, go to the field. Make yourself happy a little bit. Talk to someone. These are ways you can help yourself. Look, you have to help yourself. Nobody will make you happy unless you make yourself happy. Create situation around you and just get going. And you know, that will help you. Manage stress with a good coping strategy. Social support is very important. Make sure you have friends and family. Don't stay in school forever. Go home. Take a break and go home. You're laughing. I know it's costly to go home. I was talking to a student just yesterday. I said, won't you go home and see your mom? Mom is a widow. I said, look, you've been in school for this long. Won't you come home? He said, Daddy, I want to come, but it's expensive to come. And I was telling him, I said, look, you've got to come. So go home. Don't stay in school forever. Get to visit family. Get friends around you. You see, nobody can exist in isolation. God created us to be a social animal. So you can't be healthy staying alone. So have relationship. Have good friends. Go out to a drama. Go out to the theater when you can. And just have social relationship around you. And that will help you. That will bring joy to you. Engage in activities that make you happy. What you enjoy doing, do it. I love plants, for example. And I spend time in my garden. I pick plants everywhere I go. And it's amazing what those plants do to me. It's therapeutic. Just sitting around, you come to my house, I have a garden, right? But that makes me happy. That does something to me. That's one thing I do that just keeps me going and blesses me. So whatever you enjoy, you like singing, go ahead and sing. You like dancing? Oh, beautiful. Dance in your room. Don't wait for anybody. Put on your phone and just have a good dance and sweat a little bit. And that will help you, you know. Have a flexible and realistic reading schedule. Don't be ambitious all the time. You know, students are ambitious. They read from morning till night. They don't do anything. Read, work hard, but have some break in between. All play and no work is not good for Jack. But all work too and no play is also not very good. Be self-aware so you know when mental health symptoms are starting and get some help. When you start seeing yourself in all of this, talk to someone. Talk to a counselor. Talk to a psychiatrist. Get some help. And that would help you. This is very important. For individuals who are struggling with mental health problems, seek help from your primary caregiver. Seek therapy. Seek medication. Seek support. There are support groups that you need. Talk to people. And all of us don't have the same level of resilience. Some of us are a bit more resilient than the other, but we're all good. Everybody's good. And we can make it once we get support. Reach out to close friends or loved one. These days you can do WhatsApp, but not just enough to do all the social media thing. There's nothing like in-person contact. And that is breaking down today. Many young people don't talk. You just see them with their phone. They sit down, he's walking on the road, trifling with the phone. They sit down, is this phone, chatting on social media, Facebook, Instagram. Now that's good, but that cannot take the place of human interaction. And if you don't have human interaction, that's a big minus for you. That's a big medicine you are missing. And that can create problem for you. So you need to talk to people, visit people, and have your friends. Now, at the University of Ilorin, we have this team health care, tertiary institutional mental health care group, which we started a couple of years ago, and it would amaze you, the support that is bringing. We started by just, Dr. Buhari is here. She's a major person on the team. We had psychiatrists on the team. I am a counselor, psychologist. We have epidemiologists on the team. We have sociologists. We have psychologists on the team. And we got a TED Fund grant and started the research. And we wanted to know the mental health literacy of our students. And by the time we did the first survey, you'll be shocked what we found out. And by the time we spoke to the Vice Chancellor, we took our reports to the Vice Chancellor and told him, he was shocked that this is what is going on. And we're at the second stage of that project now. We're intervening. We have peer support groups, students. We train. As we speak, there are training going on for fellow students, helping fellow students to deal with these issues. We have a website. A student can go to the website and do a self-assessment. They can test themselves whether they are mentally okay or not. Just take a little survey. Within 5 minutes, you complete the survey. And you get the result of that survey. And that survey will tell you whether you need some help or not. And students can call in. We have the Counseling and Human Development Centers. The counselors there have been trained. At the health center, we have people there who have been trained. We have a testing center at the health center. We've trained the nurses and the doctors there, and they're working. It's a big project at the University of Ilorin, and I must thank the authorities of the university for supporting us on that project. That's the model we want to export to other universities, and I encourage your university. And I think this great foundation can take off from there and see what we can do. I think we're about the only university in this country that has started a project like that. And I think that that's something you also want to look at. My recommendations, and I go to my say, individuals need to have access to mental health services and support. 2, for communities and societies to create an environment that is supportive and inclusive for those with mental health condition. In fact, reducing stigma. Nothing wrong with anybody having a mental health issue. It is just like any other disease. It's like you having malaria or having diabetes. So don't stigmatize anybody. In those days, people are afraid to see the psychiatrist because they think, so psychiatric hospital, but that's not true. That's not true. So we need to destigmatize and know that it's a normal and it's treatable. It's something that can be dealt with. It can be helped in many ways. So we need to do all that. Promote awareness and education about mental health. Create policies and programs that support mental health and mental wellness. Conclusion, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, mental health is an essential component of the overall health and well-being of any individual. Promoting mental health and well-being is possible through what? Developing a healthy lifestyle habits. Some of what I have told you, it's possible for you to have good mental health well-being. It is also important for individuals, communities, and workplaces to prioritize mental health. And I think this university, every institution, every workplace must prioritize mental health issues. Create supportive environment. Create healing environment. And for me, that slide you sent, Dr. Buhari, excellent slide on healing environment. We must create healing environment for our students. Lecturers shouldn't be excessively difficult to students. The students who get stuck in their project work, for example, and they get stressed. We must create a healing environment around us. Make sure that we speak nicely to one another, because you don't just know where people are on this continuum. So we need to be concerned about creating good lighting. This is a beautiful hall we have, for example. Good lecture rooms, good environment. Have some green, some nature around you. Create some healing environment, some helpful environment. Support ourselves. And then we all become better when we do that. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you for your kind attention. God bless you.
This lovely Lautech, you've kept the promise. Now we're singing, all dressed in splendor, as your promise again is kept.
Very distinguished ladies and gentlemen, you would like to accept with me that was a very mind-blowing keynote speech. Please, a better round of applause for him. We can do better, right? A better round of applause for him. That was really mind-blowing, and it was really simplified that even someone who is not a medic would understand those simple terms. Thank you very much, sir, for that beautiful keynote speech. Moving forward, we would like to recognize some of the schools present here today. So I'll just need you to stand up from wherever you are when I mention your school. So like I said earlier, the Maiden edition of the TheStillWaters Mental Health Foundation is not only limited to the Lautech community, but also extends to other schools around Lautech. And the first school that I'll be introducing now are students from Ekiti State University. Please, a round of applause for them. Could you please stand up for recognition? If you know you're a student of the Ekiti State University, wow. You look beautiful and radiant, and we are indeed glad to receive you in our midst. Thank you so much for coming. I'd also like to recognize the presence of students from Olabisi Onabanjo University. Please, a round of applause for them. Thank you very much for coming. We'd love to see you next time. Please welcome with me delegates from Osun State University. Please, a round of applause for them. We also have in our midst delegates from the prestigious Bowen University. Please, a round of applause for them. Thank you so much for coming. Also present today are delegates from the Niger Delta University. Please, a round of applause for them. Thank you so much for coming. Would also like to welcome delegates from Ambrose Ali University. Please, a round of applause for them. A round of applause for delegates from the University of Ibadan. Please, a round of applause for them. Please applaud them. Thank you so much for coming. We're indeed glad to have you in our midst. We also have amongst us delegates from the University of Ilorin. Please, a round of applause for them. Thank you so much for coming. And the last but not the least, we have delegates from the prestigious, the one and only, Lautech and others, delegates from the Ladoke Akintola University of Technology. Please, a round of applause for them. Kindly signify if you are the host university. Wow, beautiful faces. Thank you so much. Please, a round of applause for yourselves. Once again, my name is Ogunkola Ifeoluwa Esther, and like I said, whenever I am behind the microphone, my name is Odasa, and I'm indeed glad, delighted, and honored to be your compare for the maiden edition of the TheStillWaters Mental Health National Convention. A round of applause for me too. Thank you. Would like to recognize some of our guests present here today. The first person I'll be introducing is someone very important, and she has really played instrumental roles in ensuring that this mental health convention becomes a success. She is the mother of the convener of the one and only and the first of its kind mental health convention. On a standing ovation, please welcome to the high table Mrs. C.A. Oyewole. She is the mother of the convener and she's the head of Department Corporate Affairs Union Osun Teaching Hospital. Please a round of applause for her. Thank you so much, ma, for the gift of Tumishe. We are indeed grateful and glad. Thank you so much. We can have our seats. I'd also like to welcome on stage the head of Department of Psychiatry, Lautech Teaching Hospital, Dr. Alatishe. Please a round of applause for him. Thank you very much, sir, for coming. We are delighted, honored, and glad to have you in our midst. We'd also like to recognize the presence of some of our guests today. They've made out time to contribute their skills, resources, money, effort towards making this a success. And the first person I will be recognizing is Dr. Olaiton Temitayo Oladele. She's one of our panelists for today, and she's a licensed clinical psychologist and lecturer. Please a round of applause for her. And as you can see, she looks very radiant and elegant. A definition of beauty plus brains. Thank you so much for coming. We are glad to have you. I would also like to recognize the presence of Mrs. Taiwo Oladayo Ayobami. She's also one of our panelists for today. She's also a clinical psychologist at the Lautech Teaching Hospital. Please a round of applause for her. I would also like to bring on stage Dr. Oluwafisayo Adenike Adebimpe. I think she's on stage already. Please a round of applause for her. She is a clinical psychologist and a lecturer, and she also happens to be the Deputy Dean, Student Affairs. Please a round of applause for her. She is representing Professor Adeyemi, the Provost, College of Health Sciences. Please a round of applause for her. And at the same time, she would help us present an award of appreciation and recognition to our keynote speaker for today. If you know that keynote speech was mind-blowing, please a round of applause for him. A better round of applause for him. So I'd like to invite our keynote speaker for today to please come forward to receive his award. Please keep clapping till he gets here.
Thank you, madam. Good morning, everybody. I'm so happy. I'm delighted to be here. I'm carrying 2 caps this morning, sir. I'm representing my provost, Professor Adewale Adeyemi. He's the provost of College of Health Sciences, Ladoke Akintola University of Technology, the best state university in Nigeria. Again, I'm standing in for my boss, the Dean of Student Affairs, Dr. Adepoju. This is what we like in student affairs. You know, there is always 2 sides to everything in life. We have the positive side and we have the negative side. I'm giving Mr. Tumishe a 5-star. He has already set a pace. And I pray that Almighty God, the people that he's going to hand it over to, they are going to outstand what he has been doing. And for our daddy, I was being curious. I said, Baba Lele, Grandpa. And I asked my sister beside me, Muni, hey Joe, Baba is deep inside. Muni is like 70, Grandpa. We appreciate you, sir. Adupe. God bless you. And to the students that came from different universities, I'm happy. It's a big deal for you to leave your school for this kind of program. Are you not impressed? Answer, are you not impressed? We've learned from Baba's wealth of experience. And I know that our panelists are going to do more. So my assignment again is to present to our daddy. Please, can you stand up and give him another round of applause? And let's celebrate Baba. He has really done well. And I can see our professors here too. I acknowledge you, sirs. Now, I'm presenting this award. Should I call him Professor? Professor Grandpa Alfred Akibo Adegoke. Daddy. Okay, wait. We appreciate you. Thank you for coming. Thank you for being there for us. We called you and you came. It's a big deal for us. I pray the Almighty God that have started great things in your life will continue to do so for you. We appreciate you and we say a big thank you to you, sir. God bless you, sir.
All dressed in splendor, as your promise again is kept. Oh, dear sweet rain.
Please, a round of applause for them. When I heard him say congratulations to Mishi, it's indeed congratulations. Can you see the turnout? Please, a round of applause for yourselves. It's beautiful to have students from different schools come together to learn under an atmosphere like this. And like I said, I'm indeed blessed to be in this auditorium today. So I would continue to introduce our dignitaries that are present in our midst today. And I would like to recognize the presence of Professor O.E. Ayodele. He is a distinguished professor of nephrology. Please, a round of applause for him. Thank you very much, sir, for coming. We'd like to have you sit in front, sir. Ushers, please, can you help with that? Thank you very much for coming, sir. We are glad to see your face. I'd also like to acknowledge the presence of Professor Musbau Aziz. He is the head of Department, Pure and Applied Biology. Please, a round of applause for Professor Musbau. Thank you very much, sir, for coming. We are delighted to see you. I'd also like to introduce and recognize the presence of Professor Buhari. He is a professor of histopathology, University of Ilorin. Please, a round of applause for him. Thank you very much, sir, for coming. We are glad to have you. So I would like to have you on the eye table. Would like to have you on the eye table, sir. Ushers. Professor Buhari, please, I would like to have you at the front seat. Okay, he said it's okay there. Please, a round of applause for all of our dignitaries. This event is a success today because a team of young, passionate people who are interested in advocating for mental health in Nigeria and Africa at large, it's because they all came together to contribute their own quota towards the success of this event. And at the same time, there are brands who have partnered with the TheStillWaters Mental Health Foundation to make this a success. I don't have their names yet, but I'll be using my discretion to recognize their presence. I believe in our midst we have representatives from the Western Spring Television. Please, a round of applause for them. So tonight we'll all be seeing ourselves in the news. Is that not beautiful? And I also think we have representatives from Rave FM. Please, a round of applause for them. So I will duly do their recognition as soon as we get their names. We also have a representative from Tribune Newspapers. Please, a round of applause for her. Thank you very much, ma, for coming. We are glad to have you. So like I said, we are not playing small at TheStillWaters. We see ourselves in the news, on TV, on radio. So position well. Tell your partner, position well. Tell your partner, position well. Because like Yoruba says, it's the way you sit, you see yourself. So if you know you've not been sitting well, please adjust your collar, wear your blazers, and sit properly. Thank you so much. Without wasting much of our time, I would like to invite one of our special guests for today, who also doubles as the mother of the convener. She would be addressing us in few minutes. With a sounding applause. Or should we do the superstars clap? Majority carries the vote. Should we do the superstars clap? Should we do the superstars clap? So we'll do the superstars clap for Mrs. C.A. Oyewole as she comes on stage to deliver an address. So are we ready? 1, 2, ready, go. Roll it. Keep rolling. Keep rolling. Jam it. Jam it. Jam it. Can we give it to her? Thank you so much, ma, for coming. We're delighted to have you.
Good afternoon. The keynote speaker of today, our very highly revered professor and brother, is a big brother to us, myself and my husband, for so long. He's been there for us. Professor Alfred Adegoke. Welcome, sir. Thank you so much, sir. I recognize the presence of Dr. Buhari. Dr. Buhari, Dr. Olubumi Buhari has been our friend for so long, since way back at University of Ilorin. I'm glad to see her again here. I thank Auntie Fisayo, that's Dr. Adebimpe. She's been a big auntie to all the kids and my little friend. Thank you for coming. I recognize all the professors here present, the representative of the VC. I recognize Professor Ayodele, Professor Buhari from the University of Ilorin. We've been together for long. Thank you, sir. Thank you for coming. I recognize my old classmates in the university. That is Professor Agbaje Latif and Professor Musibau Aziz. We were together. You would love to know that I was one of the pioneer students of this great university. I graduated from here, and I'm glad to be back home. I was with the two professors yesterday, and they promised to be here, and they are here. Thank you very much, sirs. Thanks for keeping the flag flying. Thank you, sir. I recognize the representative of the management of this university here, and I want to specially recognize all students from all over the country that deemed it fit to be here. Thank you very much, all. You have not wasted your time to come here. Even I have gained a lot from the keynote speaker. From his speech today, I've had a lot. And I'm sure what you have heard here today will help you even to push forward and to be able to approach your academics in a better manner. And I believe you have been prepared here today even to face the rigors of academics of this country as we have it, and by the grace of God, you will all be successful. I'm so proud of my son. Adedotun Oluwatumise. I'm so proud of him. I thank God. I thank God for helping him to put this together. And I know this is the beginning. I know he's still going higher. I thank all that have supported him to achieve this today. And I'm proud of you all. And I know that together you can get to higher ground. You will all finish well, and you will all finish strong. Thank you very much.
We're singing, all dressed in splendor, as your promise again is kept. Oh, dear sweet rainbow, allure my feelings, make so timeless. One race for zenith, we together began one day. You led me.
Thank you.
on.
Please, a round of applause for mommy. I could see some sting of emotions, and it's normal. Like seeing your son do exploits, gather students from different universities in Nigeria. It's a huge feat. Please, a round of applause for her. Thank you very much, Ma, for the gift of Tumishe again. We are proud of him too. So I would like to recognize the presence of some of our guests. I'm so sorry, it's an oversight on my part. I would like to recognize the presence of Professor Lateef Agbaje, distinguished professor of pure and applied biology. Please, a round of applause for him. Thank you very much, sir, for coming. We love and adore you, and we don't take you for granted. I would also like to recognize the presence of Dr. Mrs. Ilori. She's the HOD Community Medicine. Please, a round of applause for her. Now, the time that we've been waiting for is here. Can somebody say the time I've been waiting for is here? Now, this is the time for interactions. It's time for our panel discussion. And during this panel discussions, our panelists will be driving conversations around mental health. So I want us to get our questions ready, get your notepads ready, your open mind and your listening ears. In a few minutes, we'll be bringing them on stage, but I think we're still making arrangements. We'd like to bring Professor Lateef Agbaje on stage. Please welcome with him. Thank you very much, sir. We'd like to have you on the high table. We'd also like to bring on the high table Professor Musbau Aziz, Head of Department Pure and Applied Biology. Please, a round of applause for him. Now we'll be bringing our panelists on stage. Earlier today, I mentioned that our panelists are powerhouses in the mental health space. People who have walked the path. They know what it entails to be a mental health advocate. And today, they'll be answering all of the questions that are in our minds. If you know you are ready, please make some noise. That's too low for a student community. If you know that you're excited for this panel discussion, make some noise. I am particularly excited about this particular section. The first panelist that I'll be bringing on stage, I would like to crave our indulgence to please remain standing while I read her profile. And that is no other person than a very beautiful woman of substance. Beautiful, intelligent, versatile. Please welcome with me Dr. Oluwabumi Buhari. So I'd like to crave your indulgence. Please remain standing while I read your profile. Dr. Oluwabumi Buhari has an MBBS, MA Peace and Development, Certified GMH Trauma and Refugee Care, Certificate in Health Planning, Senior Lecturer and Consultant Psychiatrist, Community Psychiatry Unit, University of Ilorin. She's committed to increasing the community's mental health awareness, promoting mental well-being, and increase access to treatment and services for persons living with mental illness. Very distinguished ladies and gentlemen, esteemed special guests, please welcome with me Dr. Oluwabumi Buhari. The next person I'll be bringing on this panel discussion is Dr. Alatishe Taiwo Adedamola. I would like to crave your indulgence, sir, so please remain standing while I read your profiles. Dr. Alatishe Taiwo Adedamola is the head of the Department of Psychiatry, Ladoke Akintola University of Technology. He is a renowned consultant psychiatrist with several years of experience in teaching, medicine, and mental health advocacy. He is an award-winning psychiatrist and has won several awards, including the Egerton Luke Prize for the Best Part 1 Candidate 2015 in Psychiatry. He is a widely published author. He has also written and been featured in publications on mental health and issues such as alcohol use disorders, personality traits, and depression amongst undergraduates. He is also an avid volunteer and works tirelessly to care for the mental health of both young and old through various programs, mental health outreaches, and even free medical consultation. With a sounding applause, please welcome Dr. Alatishe Taiwo Adedamola. Please a round of applause for him. The next person I'll be bringing on stage is also a great woman of substance who have made exploits in the mental health space, and that is Dr. Olaitan Temitayo Oladele. Please a round of applause for her. I would like to crave your indulgence to please remain standing, ma, while I read your profile. Dr. Olaitan Temitayo Oladele is a licensed clinical psychologist and a lecturer with a decade of consulting, research, and teaching experience. She is a mental well-being advocate who focuses on a broad range of psychological issues while helping individuals attain optimal emotional well-being. She is a volunteer at numerous non-governmental organizations with specific focus on mental health literacy and interventions. She is also an active member of the Nigerian Association of Clinical Psychologists and a chartered member of the British Psychological Society. Please welcome with me Dr. Olaitan Temitayo Oladele. I would also be inviting one of our panelists for today. He happens to be the representative of the student body on this panel discussion today. Please welcome with me a final year medical student at the prestigious Ladoke Akintola University of Technology, Ogbomoso, Oyo State, Ayodeji Takit. Please a round of applause for him. And the last but not the least, I'll be bringing on stage our panel moderator for today, and that is no other person than Mrs. Taiwo Oladayo Ayobami. She is our panel moderator for today, and she is a clinical psychologist at Lautech Teaching Hospital. Please a round of applause for her. I believe that as I'll be leaving this stage, I'll be leaving us on the good hands of our panelists. So I want all of us to come with our open minds, our open ears, our listening ears, and of course an open mind to learn. Thank you so much.
Hello, everyone. Hello, everyone. Can I hear you? Say hi. All right. I know it's been a wonderful time so far on this program today. And I know that the keynote speaker has done a lot of justice to the theme before us.
Now it's another segment on the program, and it's the panel discussion time. Now, in the year 2022, Brown and Weldon conducted a survey that 77% of students had experienced moderate to serious psychological distress. According to them, 35% of them had anxiety, 27% had depression. In fact, 29% of them met the criteria for suicidal ideation. 3% reported attempting suicide, and 12% had intentionally injured themselves. That is to tell us that when we talk about depression, we are not playing. Also, the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency also said that over 40% of Nigerian youths are deeply involved in drug abuse. So when we are saying that we are taking a battle against depression and addiction, we actually mean it. So with me today are mental health experts that are ready to share from their wealth of experience and also to shed light and answer all the questions that we may all have. So, welcome on the platform, Dr. Buhari. Dr. Latisha, you're welcome. Dr. Ladele, you're welcome. A survivor. He just said, I'm not a survivor. You are a survivor because you're not a victim anymore. Yeah, you're a survivor. So, Ayode Jitakit, welcome on board.
About mental health problems, we should think about those that are diagnosed as having clinical problems, but we should also talk about those that have problems that has not reached the clinical level, but they're also not performing well. So these people will also need intervention. And then we have some people that they don't have the classical clinical symptoms of depression, but they are usually constantly on the low side, not elated, not having the zeal to do things that they usually would do. And this can last for years. And then for women, again, we have those that have issues with their mood related some of them may start having problems of self-esteem around this time. Now again, school. This might be the first person coming from the household to gain academic prominence. And so that puts a lot of stress of wanting to achieve, especially in this fast-paced world where everybody is wanting to achieve something. That might be then academic stress, struggling with the education, relationship problems, financial problems. Because we know we all have different levels of financial stability. You just heard what he said. A lot of people are already in the lower rung of the society and they still need to survive. This is some of the things that predispose people to having depression.
Right, thank you very much.
Peer influence too, peer pressure.
Peer pressure.
Bullying is another important for this age group in university.
All right, thank you very much, Ma, for that. Now, while we were putting this together, the convener wanted us to wrap failure around it. That is concerned that a lot of people might get into mental health issues because they have failed. Now, we'll be putting this question to you, Dr. Alatishi. That what is the relationship between failure, depression, and addiction? Is there any relationship?
Well, failure. Now, are we talking of academic failure? Are we talking of failure in responsibility at home? Are we talking of failure in expectation from home? So failure can be our financial failure. Now, I will focus more on academic failure because I feel that is the presumption. Yes, academic failure has a relationship to depression and substance use. From the perspective of one, it might be a trigger, like it has been explained earlier by the first speaker and the prof. It can be a precipitating factor for somebody that already has a predisposing factor, or somebody that is already vulnerable to having depression in the first place. So if the person now has major failures, it now becomes a problem. Now, it is not failure on its own that is the trigger, but failure meeting a failed expectation. Or somebody that is not prepared for the failure. So for example, I'll be giving examples because I deal with students a lot. Now, there's a student that failed an MBBS exam a few years back, was asked to repeat, now had mental health problem, didn't get to diagnostic level, but could not even repeat the class, and had to come back later. Now, do you know the major problem with that failure? It was because of the expectation from home, being the fact that he's like the brightest in the home, there's a lot of expectation, a lot of responsibility on his shoulders. Even the parent did not know he failed because he could not tell them. So that expectation that you cannot afford to fail puts pressure on students. You must always pass, and various other expectations. So failing in that expectation in the form of failing an exam can now tilt somebody vulnerable to having depression. Now, this might not be related to addiction in the sense that now one of the ways people cope with depression is abuse of substance. Because by the time somebody is feeling perpetually down, low, sad, and due to peer pressure, which is another factor that was mentioned earlier on, somebody now tells you that if you take this substance, you feel high. And he tries it, for example, alcohol. Now, another trend I'll tell people is, these young youths of these days don't take alcohol frequently like before. It is cannabis that's the in thing. They take more of cannabis than alcohol. Before you see somebody that is dependent or addicted to alcohol, you'll have seen 10 dependent or addicted to cannabis. No, by the time the person takes it, feels high, forgets he's depressed, till the effect wanes off. Now, that also acts on another vulnerability. The ability to be dependent on a substance also has its own vulnerability because of our genetic makeup. So somebody that is already vulnerable genetically to being addicted to alcohol now uses alcohol to cope with depression, now gets addicted over time. Because the alcohol does not treat the depression, it makes the mood to go slightly up. Let's say if it's alcohol now, the lifespan is like 6 to 8 hours. So after 6 to 8 hours or thereabouts, it goes down back to being depressed. So he needs to take another alcohol. Over time, the person now gets addicted to it. that cycle now continues. And because he's now addicted to alcohol, it affects academic performance. Because the person is depressed, like was explained earlier on, the cognition is affected, the concentration is affected, they can't assimilate, they can't recollect. The academic performance go further what? Down.
Wow.
So, and that cycle continues. So, and that's why failure that is the beginning, if not managed adequately or properly well, it can lead to others and the failure continues.
So it runs in cycle, if not properly managed. Thank you very much, Dr. Olatishi. Now, to you, Dr. Oladele, I know there are ways to cope with failure. So what I would like you to talk about adaptive and maladaptive ways to cope with failure.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very much. Now, when we say, I don't know, I've changed it. When we say maladaptive, it simply means unhealthy ways of coping. And adaptive are healthy ways of coping with failure. Now, there are so many maladaptive ways of coping. He has mentioned one of it, which is taking of psychoactive substance. You know, which is taking of psychoactive substance. There are some individuals, there are some students that when they fail, they just think the best thing for them to do is to get high. As if when they come back to reality, the lecturer will have changed the score. You know, some of them will even want to give up on trying. That, okay, after reading so long, after planning, after planning my time, I think I should just forget about trying to perform well. Why don't I start doing examination malpractices? That's another maladaptive way of copying. Some people also give in to suicidal ideation. Some even attempt suicide because they think that's the end of life. Why should I fail? So these are unhealthy ways of coping. Now, the healthy ways, the first thing for you to realize is that it's okay to fail. It's okay to fail. It's not a big deal. It simply means you have to try again. So you have to sit down, go through the grieving process. It's normal for you to weep. Don't act as if nothing doing is not paining me. And at the end of the day, you go to your room and you're all weeping and all that. It's okay to feel bad. Go through the healing process. Then you might want to go back and think, what made you fail that particular course? Or what made you fail that particular exam? From there, you can actually plan to do better in subsequent papers. So, like I want to emphasize now, it's okay to fail. You hardly see people who have not failed before. If you want to take the statistics, okay, how many people have never failed before? You'll be amazed. Most of us, at one point or the other, we've had to fail and, repeated maybe a particular course or a particular even stage in life, but it's not the end of life. So let's always have that in mind, that it's okay to fail. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Dr. Oladele, for that. Now to our champion, our survivor. We would like to take your experience. What happened? And how did you cope? How did you pull through it?
Okay, thank you very much for first the opportunity to be here with my daddies and mommies and my tutors. They've given you the stuff, and I cannot give you stuff because they are here. So I'll give you the practical, or you have to understand the story before you can understand how or whatever solution I will bring. But first, the question was how I coped. First, let me give you the story so you understand. At the time when I was coming into school, my best friend at the time was already having his NYSC because I was one of those people who had medicine in my head, like if I don't do medicine, I will not do anything again. So for every time I applied for JAMB and I was given something else, I wanted to write again. And I wrote 5 times. So that was one.
You said you wrote 5 times.
I wrote JAMB 5 times.
5 times,
to get
wow.
medicine, yeah. And when I got into school in my 300 level, then I had a setback again. That's like 6 years. And it was tough because it felt like you are seeing your life flash through your eyes, like years going, and you don't have the capacity to hold it back. Like, okay, just wait for me, I'm coming. And how I was able to cope with it was to live from inside out. A lot of us try to find joy and happiness from outside in. And that's where we try to use things, psychoactive substances, alcohol, try to do things that give us that temporary pleasure and make us feel like we are still alive. But the truth of the matter is, human beings have been wired to live from inside out. Now, to the basic things of life, if you have a phone, the phone was made to be self-sufficient. So when you have a phone and you try to buy things for you want to buy a screen guard, you want to buy this and that for the phone, it doesn't change the fact that the phone already has what it is to survive. So whatever solution that you have in your head to get out of depression might just be you trying to find an outside-in solution. This real solution is from inside out. Who are you? Are you just somebody who feels like whatever your validation is dependent on someone saying you are right or someone saying you are wrong? Because the truth of the matter is, everybody who has battled with depression, one way or the other, gave it their all. You feel like you've given it your all, but you actually did not give it your all. So I don't stretch this.
Okay.
How I coped with it was discovering myself, discovering the fact that my timing was different from every other person's timing.
So I have just like 3 questions. My first question, so during the hosting session, one of the consultants was speaking about pain tolerance and pain threshold. And the consultant describes threshold as, let me put it in simpler terms, the pain comes, but there's a limit before the person breaks down. While tolerance, the pain comes, but the person adjusts and adapts and continue to adapt as it comes. So now my first question is that, regarding mental health, would it be correct to say that people are born with different mental threshold? And what factors determines this threshold? Finally, I would like to know the one key thing or factor that you can say is a crucial ingredient in building a strong mental tolerance and in an ever-changing environment. That's the first question. Should I?
I'm sorry, can you please come again with the first question?
My first question is that, as
Okay.
regarding mental health, would it be correct to say that people are born with different mental threshold?
Would it be correct that people are born with different mental health threshold?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
And what factors determine this threshold? Finally, I would like to know the one key thing or factor that you can say is a crucial ingredient in building a strong mental tolerance in an ever-changing environment.
All right, Dr. Latchi, I think you have to go on with that.
Well, one, to start with, like you mentioned, mental health threshold.
I'm sorry, if you still have your questions, you can put it down, we can write it down and give it to the get it to us, please.
Yes, it is true. Our mental threshold, our emotional threshold, our psychological threshold differs from person to person. We should understand that. And that is a function of our genetic makeup. That is one. You can't compare somebody's threshold, an introvert to an extrovert. So our personality, our genetic makeup, our upbringing is also very important. So that's why we say nature and nurture. For nature is our genetic, and that's why the issue of family history of somebody with depression has already affected the genetics. So the person might not have that mental threshold as much as the other person. Now the other factor is the personality. An extrovert has more mental threshold than an introvert because the person speaks out. And the inbuilt tension is reduced. Now, the other factor is the issue of upbringing. So if you are raised with a lot of resilience, now it's different from abuse. Compared to somebody that was raised being pampered. The person that is raised gradually with resilience has more mental threshold. Because the psychological development is such that the person subconsciously knows that some things I can achieve, some I cannot achieve. So during the process of any failure, the person just reset that, okay, this is some of the negative things I have to cope with. because the person has been coping with a lot of things over time. But for somebody that is pampered, gets everything wherever he wants it, I need a shoe today, I get. I need iPhone tomorrow, I get. I need this tomorrow, I get. For such a person, even just going to go and meet a lady, and the lady says no, the person breaks down. Because the mindset growing up is that everything I want, I get.
Yes.
So by the time the person does not get, and unfortunately in life, you don't get everything. Life is not what? Life is not a bed of what? Roses. So because of that, the person now breaks down easily. So for such a person, the mental capacity is what? Lower. The person cannot do much. Now, other things that affect is the substance use. By the time somebody abuses psychoactive substance, it also affects their capacity. Also, that's also dependent on the different substances. So, I think I've answered some of the questions on factors. Then also the other thing I failed to mention, which is key, as part of the factors that could have affected it also is childhood sexual abuse. Trauma, childhood sexual abuse is key. In fact, I've seen so many. It's also a factor that can affect the mental resilience or mental threshold of an individual. Also, the other factor is family dynamics. Being raised in a family where there's divorce, there's violence, there's physical abuse, this significantly affects the mental threshold of an adult later in life. So these are factors that could have contributed at one point or the other, affecting the mental threshold of an individual.
All right, does that answer your question? The first question. About the second one?
Yes, for the second one. So, I and a team, we conducted the research among over 350 students, and we discovered that we were trying to connect the...
Sorry?
Okay. I and a team were working on the research, and we were trying to connect the relationship between internet use and the mental health of students. And we discovered that the mental health issues of students wasn't really linked to any particular internet activity, but was majorly with the time spent on the internet. Now my question is, especially for our daddies and mommies who lived in a post-internet age, do you believe that the people who lived before the internet age in Nigeria had a more balanced mental health compared to the current internet generation?
Okay, Dr. Buhari.
I would say we work it both ways. Because the previous group had some other things, and this group, that's the new Gen Z age group, have their own. The internet thing has exposed us to a lot of things. It's supposed to be an advantage in terms of development. You know, then we didn't have books. You have to go and maybe go to Ibadan, what's it, Odushote bookshop or Lagos. And if they don't have, you wait. That's an example of how life was difficult then, because you didn't have materials. You have materials. You can easily go to the internet, get books, get information that you need. But then it has the negative, because we are talking about addiction. There are a lot of addiction, and the thing about the internet is like it's linked to psychology. It's linked to pleasurable things that you want to do. So there are things that prop up, and you see they follow you. They monitor your personality, and you see that anytime you go online, the things that prop up are things that you are interested in. And then it drives you, and it's like, that's why people get, it's just like the same thing, looking for easy gratification, looking for things to, numb our emotional problems. So people now have issues of, even if you want to get substance, it's easier for you there. And you can also buy it online. You don't have to see somebody. You don't have to talk to somebody to get it. So those are things like sexual addiction, internet, even the time spent. Some people are always like scrolling, the notification addiction. Keep checking on it. Every other thing. And then you start comparing yourself. And then FOMO, fear of losing out, because you're comparing yourself to all those other ones. Those are things that bring about, people having mental health problems, even the bullying. We didn't have that, but we also had some other ones. There's a difference between training for resilience. Some had it, but there was also abuse, some kind of abuse. Physical abuse, not really sexual abuse, but more physical abuse, psychological abuse. Talking to, the parents, there's sometimes some students who is like, Orimeji, I hope, please, I'm a Yoruba speaking person, and I like using, there are some things that, you communicate better when you say that. You know when the boy comes and he's like, he comes second, third, and then the family says, ta ló gbé first? Orí méjì ló ní àbí? Didn't I train you too? You know? And then starts talking to people like that, or he's like, oh, I know you will never do it. You are the one that will always come last. That also leads to some psychological things that the child takes in. Oh, I can never do well. And then starts attracting negative things. So it's both ways. The parents in the older age group, well, even though we're not exposed to internet, it had its disadvantage, it had the advantage. Its advantage is that we're not exposed to some of the things you people are exposed to. But the disadvantage was that we didn't have enough information like you also have. So it's like for you now to balance, take the positives that come with internet and leave the negatives. Some of the things that will help you, some of the things they've said, things like building your resilience. Having breaks, you don't have to be on phone all the time. Just like he said, you can live without the phone. So why don't you use it only when you need it and try to take time off? Some will use it throughout, even when they are sleeping, is with them. And then it has its negatives, the waves and all those things, the radioactive waves that are coming in, the visual things that are coming in. So I hope I've answered your question. It's neither, it depends on how you look at it.
Okay. And Dr. Ladele would like to add to that.
No, just like Dr. Buhari said, the negative and the positives. I remember during coronavirus time, and they'll be doing countdown. I don't know how many of us witnessed it. During coronavirus, when they are counting, oh, the number is increasing. The number is increasing. It has reached there. You know, a lot of people around that time broke down. And we had to tell people, take some time off social media. In fact, when this popular musician died, Interaction can bear me witness, Mobad, we had 2 people that broke down as a result of that, yes. So sometimes just tell people, just go on social media fast. Be off the internet. There are some people, even when they are chatting, they are putting LOL, they are putting laughing sticker, but in reality, they're not even smiling. I don't know, do you understand? So you can't even judge somebody's mental well-being by how active and inactive he is on maybe WhatsApp status. And I saw him yesterday, he said it's my turn to shine, and he attempted suicide. Yes, there are 2 different things. So yeah, just like she said, there's the positive aspect and there's also the negative aspect. You have to apply a balance to these things. Thank you.
All right, thank you. I'll take it to be healthy use and problematic use of social media.
Well, one of the things we should notice with social media use is it's also for this generation, it deprives you of your social skills, of interaction with people. How do you negotiate interactions with people? Because when you are always online, you're only used to online interaction. You are not used to physical interaction. And physical interaction will take you far. That's 1. 2, what also the internet does, if you are not careful, is you tend to now compare yourself. And that's why if you notice amongst yourself now, if you post something online, you'll be checking the likes, the views. Nobody has liked, just 2 views since 24 hours. Those things can make you depressed over time because of your expectations of this. So it's good to manage it. And the other thing also is the fact that somebody is depressed before, has low self-esteem. Or maybe because of how the person is being raised, the self-esteem is already on the borderline low. So the person is now looking for validation from the social media or internet. Now, unfortunately, most of the thing on social media is fake. Most of the time, if I park my car, somebody will come and snap beside it and post it online, and you think it's the owner of the car. Somebody else will go and take another person's shoe and snap, or put on another person's clothes and snap. And you, that you are better than the person, you now feel bad. You are better actually, but you now feel bad because you assume the person has it. Also, you see a lot of people, they are smiling with each other, but they are sworn enemies. You see it on social media. So, most of the time, when you see things on social media, you take it with a pinch of salt. Because most of it is unrealistic. But most of the time, you judge yourself based on those things you see on social media, which now depress you further. So it's important that, like it has been mentioned earlier, you mediate. You determine what you want to use the internet for. Is it for information seeking? Is it for disseminating information? Is it for minimal social interaction? it doesn't take away, like Prof mentioned earlier, it should not take away the actual physical interaction. It is very key. And that is what makes the difference between the pre-internet era and the post-internet era. So it is important. Then also, I want to mention this. It's a brief story of a student. I saw a student in the health center from the staff school, an 11-year-old girl. Do you know she had suicidal thoughts? And I had to explore 11-year-old. Why? Depressed. He said because of Mobad. I had to ask how, why. He now said, now listen. And that's why you must be careful of some of the things you do around people. He said because when her mom is talking about Mobad issue, when she checks it online, her mom is usually emotional. She cries. So she started feeling bad gradually and now got to that stage. Effect of internet. And that is why it's also important that when you check things online, there are some things that you need to avoid. Suicide sensationalization. Somebody wants to commit suicide, everybody's posting it. What you don't know is somebody is on the borderline before, thinking of what's the way out. Should I do it? Should I not do it? You are now posting it that somebody committed suicide and escaped from this problem. By the time you post it that somebody commits suicide and he has left us and escaped from this problem, the other person that is seeing this life as not worthwhile just say, okay, this is an avenue. The person just jumps on it. Okay. So the internet is a big space that you must regulate its use just for your advantage as much as possible, so that it does not serve as a risk factor or a precipitating factor for you to have depression or addiction.
All right, thank you very much, Dr. Olatushe, for that contribution. Okay, the third we have so many questions there, and I doubt to be able to take all. But let's take your third question, please.
Thank you, ma'am. Very sorry. This one is for my chief, sir. Sir, what does finding myself really mean? And how can anyone find themselves?
Okay, I think it's related to a question that I have here. Can the process of self-discovery be highlighted?
Okay.
So, Dr. Ola Mbari.
Okay. I'll start and then the others can add. First of all, you need to know who you are. What are your values? What are your principles? What do you hope to achieve? What do you stand for? By the time you start asking yourself some of those questions, it will start coming to place. And then, what are my areas of strength in life? What are my weaknesses? And you should be able to accept that and then start working on it. If you don't ask yourself those questions, you will not be able to do the necessary steps required to improve upon yourself. And a lot of people don't do that. We just wake up every day and then keep doing. Ask yourself those pertinent questions. Where do I want to be in so years? Who do I want to emulate? But by the time you start asking yourself those questions, some things will pop up and then you start saying, oh, you discover, okay, I have the tendencies to do this. Is this good or not? Should I embark on this? Because in every human being, you have both the negatives and positives, and it is what you build on. Start asking yourself those questions and then start working on it. If I find out that, oh, okay, my negative side is that I am not able to talk in public. I feel shy. I lose myself. Oh, and then I start asking myself, how can I improve on that? So that in class, when they call me or when I have to do my clinicals, how am I able to improve on that? Oh, I don't like calculations and it requires calculations. There's somebody else that does it. Oh, do I have the tendency to want to have easy gratification and I'm knowing that this is not good? So how can I delay that so that I can improve on myself? By the time you start doing those, I think you get to that level where you discover who you are, then you work towards improving upon.
Also, one factor you should note about discovering yourself is your health status. You must know what are the things that make you fall sick. What are the things that make you better? So this is also key. What are your challenges, even from family? It's also key. So because if you know that from the family you are coming from, we have financial challenges, you will not put your expectation on financial, you are looking for 10 million, you are looking for all this. You just accept it that, okay, for now that I'm still a student, I might struggle with finances, so I'll need to find a way of coping with it. Then you now move on. The essence is, why we are saying this is, it lowers your expectation on something. Your expectations become realistic. Because for every expectation you set that is not met, it's a source of tension for you. So if you set unrealistic expectation, I want to make my first 10 million when I become 23. I want to buy my first car when I become 26. I want to be my first house become 30. The person will break down psychologically because most likely will not be able to achieve it. So it's important, by the time you discover yourself, you know that you accept that, okay, I might not be able to buy my first car until maybe 5 years or 10 years after I graduate. It's easier. You move. But if you are certain, this guy is using this, I must do this, you break down.
Okay.
So it's important that you note all these things down, and it helps you in negotiating life.
All right, thank you very much. Dr. Oladele, please, you have to take this question. This person is saying, I have some of the traits of a depressed person. Does it mean I'm depressed, or how do I know if I'm depressed?
Okay, thank you for that question. Now, the keynote speaker really did a great job by itemizing some of these major signs and symptoms. Now, when we use the word depression, some people use it just, I'm depressed, when they are sad, I'm depressed. But clinically, when you say somebody is depressed, we look at some major signs. And there are 3 major signs we look at. The first is low mood. And this must be persistent for at least 2 weeks. Now, this for major depressive disorder, it must meet that criteria. Now, the person is unhappy consistently for at least 2 weeks. The second is low energy. He or she finds it difficult to get things done. On a normal day, maybe this person will want to, clear up, wash up, do 1 or 2 things, go to class early, and all of a sudden, even to have his or her bath, he finds it difficult to do. Eventually, when he does, he appears to class late. There are some people that it's because they are depressed. That's why they're even absent in classes or even go late to class. And the third is not finding pleasure doing things you enjoy doing. Now, I'm not talking about things you have to do. These are things you enjoy. Let's say on a normal day, you love to watch ball or you love to cook. And all of a sudden, you don't even find pleasure in it anymore. So when you find these 3 there consistently for at least 2 weeks, we can say, okay, this person has major depressive disorder. Now, for the person that asked this question, the person may just have symptoms of depression. And the best thing for you to do is to present on time. Because when you present on time, now, in managing depression, there are 2 major ways. Psychotherapy, that's talk therapy. And we also have medications. And we also have use of medications. So if you present on time and we do our assessment, we can tell you things to do. If it has not gotten to severe depression, in most cases, you don't even need medication. With talking therapy, you are good to go. So I wouldn't like you to sit down and assess yourself or to keep guessing. Do you have this major depressive disorder? Do I have this? Am I even sure I'm depressed? Please come to us. I know anything mental health, like Prof said, has been stigmatized. It's so bad that people even stigmatize we that take care of people with mental illness. But there are some things that you will do, and when somebody asks you that, okay, where do you work, and you say Department of Psychiatry, some will even say Abajo, no wonder. These are things we experience because of the stigmatization, but let's forget the stigmatization. It should be written on here that are taking antidepressant or antipsychotics. So whoever wrote this question, please present on time, and we will see to it that you will be fine. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Oladele. Dr. Buhari.
I think I should also add that most of the symptoms that we talk about, the symptoms of mental illness, can also be seen in normal people. How do you then distinguish between, is this symptom mental health problem? Is it something I should be worried about? When it starts becoming frequent, persistent, pervasive, affecting your level of functioning, then you should start getting worried. And then remember, they also said that there's a difference between somebody that has a clinical diagnosis who needs admission, and then there's somebody who has a problem. It has not yet reached the level of clinical diagnosis, but this person too, we need to quickly attend to this person. It's easier for us to deal with that person. You may not even need medication. It might be talk therapy, it might be teaching them social skills or some other things. And if you get that person at that time, then it's easier for you, and then the person has a better quality of life. It's not likely to have the full-blown illness. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Ma. We have quite a number of questions here, and I also understand that there are some people that are willing to ask us directly from the audience. I think we should just do it alternatively. We take one from the audience while we read one from the written notes. So is there anybody that wants to ask from the audience again? All right, we have somebody already. Protocols, okay, thank you. Please go ahead.
All right, thank you very much, Mark, for the opportunity. My name is Adeboye Aduragomi from Ambrosali University, Edo State. And I have 4 questions, but then one has been answered in the course of the discussions. I'm sorry. So I'll just read them out now. So I wrote here, I said, in areas where mental health issues are passed for spiritual causes, how do we bridge the gap between traditional beliefs and modern mental health practices to ensure comprehensive well-being? That's my first question.
All right, Dr. Alatshi, please handle that.
Well, now, basically, that is not surprising in our environment because mental health issues or symptoms present with behavioral issues. And it's not like somebody is having malaria, you have fever, headache, and how do you want to manage? But basically, the way we do it is because we don't want people to run away. When people have ingrained belief in their mind, you can't change it suddenly. So if you want to use the approach of there's nothing spiritual about this person, it's medical, they will run away. I'll give a classical example of what a psychiatrist shared his story with me. He said a patient came to the facility. This patient has been managed in different places before and not doing well. From now, the person is leaving UK, came to Nigeria. They now brought to the facility, and I said, do you think that he heard that the psychiatrist is very good spiritually? The psychiatrist looked and said, no, it's a medical problem, use this medication, the patient left. Another time, somebody else now brought the patient again. They now use just theatrics. Sat down like this, look at the patient. They've brought me what is wrong with you. It is this. Now prescribe medication for the patient. And the patient used it. And the patient has been stable in the UK, requesting for the medication regularly till date. Now, you now ask yourself, what has treated the patient? So at times, if you want to use force and say, no, it is not spiritual, the example I give to people is, there might be spiritual explanations, but we are treating the physical that we are seeing. So if a patient has low mood, reduced energy, suicidal thoughts, I'm not bothered that is it spiritual that causes it or not. This person is depressed. I give medication, the patient feels better. And one thing we should learn over time is, I now ask simple questions to people. Do we have spiritual causes to infertility? People will say there are spiritual causes to infertility, but do they go to gynecologists for treatment? Yes or no? So even the teaching is, even if you think it's spiritual, why don't you combine the approach? Pray on one side and use the medication on another side. So either ways, you win. That's the standard. The other thing I just advise is, because sleep is essential for those with mental illness, please avoid vigil as much as possible. Your prayer request, send it to those who go to vigil. Please help me pray about this. Because for somebody with mental illness, you need your sleep as much as possible. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Dr. Alatshi, for that. I hope we are getting something. Are we getting some things at all? Okay, you have more questions, so let's take your questions.
Okay, thank you, Ma. I have 2 more questions. I'll just read it together, so it will be answered together. So I wrote here, I said, for medical students, we face this a lot, negative comments and all those things, right? So I said, how can we help, young people to combat issues and build resilience towards the impact of negative comments, 1, low self-esteem, and body shaming? That's the second question. Then the last question is, what are practical ways students can actively participate in shaping the future of mental health awareness and support? Thank you.
All right, thank you very much for that. Dr. Buhari, over to you.
Thank you.
The question you asked about medical students goes on various levels. And some of them, Prof. had also highlighted in his presentation, having good mental health policy. Now, we should also talk about issues of how do you address people that have problems? How do you address people that have mental illness? And then it has to be, we have to do a lot of mental health literacy, not just for students, for every member of the community. Your lecturers too, because your lecturers too need to know how to communicate with you respectively. It's both ways. So we need to do some of those things. Teach people how to communicate effectively. Teach people not to bully. You can train somebody without bullying the person. Have mentorship programs, horizontal, vertical. So from up, down, from your level and all those. Encourage peer group, support groups, so that those that have better skills can encourage the other people. Teach, I talked about different levels. It's not just even the academic staff. You also need to teach the non-academic staff. We have to talk about issue of destigmatization and letting everybody know that there's nobody that is free from coming down with mental illness if all the risk factors come into play. And then, of course, encourage medication or facilities where people can have counseling. There should be places where people can even distress themselves. There's something that I noticed with medical students now that was not there when we were in school. I noticed that in uni learning now, after every posting, the students come together. Before the next posting, they tell themselves, oh, we are going to so. We want to have picnic. They laugh, play games and all those ones and prepare for the next posting. And then they have some tutorial groups to help themselves. And then, of course, when they notice, we teach them signs and symptoms to look out for, not in a way to stigmatize somebody. So if you have somebody that you are close to and you think the person has problems, first thing is, how do you even ask people questions? Are you okay? You need to learn it. Because if you don't ask the appropriate way, even the person has problem, the person will not tell you. Remember that you need to also give the person time to trust you enough to want to talk to you about that. And then help this person get the needed help that the person needs. Not in a stigmatizing, it might be, this person out of our lecturer is part of your social group, maybe your town group or your religious group. Can we first talk to this person? Or do we even have, within some departments, we have counselors who are trained. We are trying to retrain them, again, because we are all, even though some of us are trained, we're still a representative of the community. So some of us still go along with our misconceptions and myths. So we try to regularly correct that. And then, of course, if students need a break, we advise them to take the break so that they can then come back and then recommence the program. I think these are some of the things that we've done to help.
Well, now, on the issue of the self-esteem, students should learn that at times we might tell some lecturers not to do. It's in both ways. Students also are becoming more expressive. And most of the lecturers are now learning to cope with expressive students. Because growing up, being expressive is termed arrogant, rude. So now students have to now have what we call emotional intelligence to even know how to deal with each and individual lecturer. Some lecturer might be receptive to such, while some might not. Now the other thing you should note is, and the reason why it affects most students is because they need external validation, like somebody said. So if you need external validation, if somebody say you look bad, you agree you look bad. If somebody say your head is full of sawdust, you feel bad. But if you accept that you are okay, you are the best creation God created, and you are the best you can ever be, even if somebody is telling you that you look bad, you just tell the person that it is the person is wearing the glasses that is not making the person to see you appropriately. Now, I'm talking of what is going on in your mind. So by the time somebody is saying negative things, whether body shaming, whether abusive words, the most important thing you need to tell yourself is your self-assurance. When your self-esteem is okay, no matter what anybody says, it doesn't hit you so badly. Yeah. But when you need external validation, that how do I look? Then you know that anytime somebody says something bad about you, it will weigh you down.
I think to also add to that, you also have to learn to deal with failure. And don't think that that is the end of the world. Sometimes you need to, fail to actually know that you need to develop some skills that are inherent in you. And then you should know that we all have different capability. So don't be expecting that everybody will be 100%. Remember that before you came to school, maybe you are champion in your local schools, but it's now everybody coming together and competing in this world again. And I also tell people that sometimes again, the way we teach is quite different. You find out that even if you don't know anything, there are some lecturers you come and then they're able to express themselves well and teach you. And there's some that they have the stuff, but they can't pass the message across. So you also have to learn those things, your capability, and think about how you can strengthen it. So because somebody is the star or the scholar in class, does not mean that because you are not the scholar, you are not going to do it. And I tell people, even the scholar might not be the best doctor. And then you are running your own race. Don't compare yourself with any other person. The only thing you should always do every day is to tell yourself, how can I be better than what I was?
Wow.
And keep improving on yourself.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Buhari. Dr. Oladele, this question goes to you. This person says, how do I stop the life of me by myself and for myself and only by myself, not having passion for anything, not even academics? How do I stop the life of me by myself? Yes. How do I stop the life of me by myself, for myself, by myself, only by myself, not having passion, anything, not even academics?
Okay, thank you for that question. That reminded me of something Prof said, that we are social beings. Who can remember when he said that? That we are social beings. We need other people. In most cases, when you are self-centered, when you think everything is around you, you miss it. Because you think that you don't need A, you don't need B, I'm self-sufficient. Nobody is self-sufficient, not even the person or the people who look at as the most intelligent individuals. So you need to remind yourself that you need other people in your life. You need to remind yourself that there are things you actually have. Oh well, it is true that other people don't have them. And there are some things that they also have that you don't have. So how do you benefit? They have to gain from you and you have to gain from them. But when you are all by yourself, you are going to lose things. Even things, maybe from your classmates, from your roommates. Some people don't even want to have roommates at all because they feel that when they have roommates, they will have issues with the roommates. But you need to learn how to deal with people. You need to learn how to deal with people. So having that realization is the first thing. We call it insight. There is an issue, and that issue is that you think everything is about you, but it's not all about you. You need other people in your life. You need to actively, start to do it. It's a learning process. We unlearn some things, we relearn some things, and we learn some things. So it's a good thing you have an insight. You know now. Then start by reaching out to people. When they come to you also, when people come to you, how you respond determine if they will come back or not. If you are, for instance, somebody comes to you wanting to share one or two challenges and you are looking at your time 247, you are looking, that other person is perceiving as if, maybe I'm wasting her time or maybe I'm wasting his time. And he or she wants to wrap up whatever he has to say. But if you are receptive, that person will see you as a safe haven and will always come around you to say whatever thing he has to say. And same thing with you too. Sometimes all we need to do is to ventilate. Not that the individual has a solution, but just want to talk to somebody. But when you wrap up yourself, when there are issues, you will even feel that if I go and tell this person, she will say that, oh, it's because I have issues, that's why I'm coming to her. Because you've lived a life all by yourself. So start now by relating with other people and you will see the positive difference. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Dr. Ladele.
Well, one thing we should note is which people should develop. And that's why you notice some people, they have first class, but they don't go far in life. There is social intelligence, there is emotional intelligence, how you deal with people. There is intellectual intelligence. So if you relate with yourself alone, and it's about yourself alone, it will affect how far you go in life. And you want to determine what is your emotional bank account with other people. If everything you do must always be for your own benefit, your emotional bank account with most people will be negative. The day you need help, you will not get anything. Life is not about what is in it for you. you should be ready to help others. Because even one of the mature defense mechanisms is altruism. When you help others, you participate in community activities and everything, it improves your mental well-being gradually, which also reduces your chances of breaking down. But the moment is everything's about yourself, for yourself, and everything, it's a template to break down psychologically.
All right, thank you very much, Dr. Alatushi. Now, over to you, Ayodeji. This person said, what do I do when friends keep letting me down? What do I do? Like friends keep letting me down, they keep disappointing me.
Okay, so this is a very interesting one. The answer is very individualistic, so I'm going to give you my answer. Might not resonate with so many people's answer. I believe in giving people second chances, and that's because love governs everything. When people let you down, they either do so because they don't know what they are doing, or they know what they're doing and still choose to do it. So, how do I approach it? I tend to want to give excuses for people. Yes, you don't know what you're doing, that's why you're doing this. It happens again, you probably don't know what you're doing, but you're doing this. It keeps happening again. Yes, it gets to the point where you now begin to look like you are stupid. But in stupidity is where love is centered. I'm sorry to say, because it will sound like a very abusive relationship. But have you been in a situation where you love people so much so that your love attracts them to you? I don't know if anybody can relate. You love people so much so that you don't expect anything in return. That regardless of what you do, I would still love you. Yes, I would not trust some things with you. I would not give you things that are very delicate to me to mess with because of the kind of person I've perceived you to be. But I will still give you a chance to prove yourself that you are is it irreconcilable or irredeemable. But to say that I give up on people, I'm not one who wants to give up on people, because I believe that as long as you are living, there's always a chance to be a better person. So how do you deal with people that let you down? Just love them.
Right.
Just keep loving.
Wow.
Well,
wow. Thank you very much, Ayodeji.
Well, another perspective to it is letting down is a function of what you are expecting. That's the first truth. So if you your expectation, if it is unrealistic from people, you will be let down most of the time. So your expectation of people should be you understanding them. Now the problem we have is our expectation of people is usually from our own perspective, not from their perspective. And most of the time it doesn't work well. So before you expect things from people, you should know the person, what they are capable of doing, what they are not capable of doing, so that what you are expecting from them is not beyond their capacity. So by the time you feel, I'm doing this for you, you should do this, maybe the person is not capable of giving a lot of things. Maybe the person is not capable of giving advice. You now go to the person, say everything, the person did not give advice. You go the second time, you ask if the person is letting you down. The person doesn't have the capacity. So we must understand people for that. Then it lowers our expectation, it moderates our expectations of what we want from them. Okay. That is key. The other thing is the fact that we should know that there will be differences. We cannot always be the same. And also the fact that people will do things that will favor them, not you. As you are expecting them to do things for you, they are also expecting their own benefit. So there has to be a balance. So in the process of expecting things from them, you should now also be in their shoes to see that, okay, if I'm on the other side, how will I react? Right. So based on that, it makes your expectation realistic. Okay. And from that, letting down will be reduced as much as possible. And like it was mentioned, You give a lot of excuses. By the time you understand somebody, you can give excuses for them. He doesn't talk as much as possible, so even I should not expect him to say much to this. So this is very important, because if you don't lower your expectation, for every failed expectation, is a source of tension for you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Olache. Please let me take this question briefly before we go on to the next. This person said, as a student of nutrition and dietetics, I realized that the society doesn't appreciate my discipline. Okay. As a student of nutrition and dietetics, I realized that the society doesn't appreciate my discipline well enough, and that is dealing with my mental health because I am scared of what the future holds for me. Please, what is the way out?
The first question I should ask, the course that the person wanted, was that course something that the person chose by themselves, something that was given to them because of their cutoff point? Because it seems as if this person does not have an understanding of why the person is doing that program. Because if you are aware of the importance of nutrition, it's just like years back, people would not talk about mental health because of stigma. But because people that were in that field knew that this was something that was important in the community, they were advocating and they made themselves relevant. So don't feel that you don't have a place in the community. There's so much about it's our way of life, our way of living, and it affects our health. And so you should be able to go out there, even if you don't get government employment, be prepared to be self-employed, to do things so that people will understand your relevance in the community. Food nutrition is very important for our health, for our physical health, for our mental health. And so we need to start advocating for people how to do the correct thing. And you can make use of the current depression that we have, financial depression. People don't have to spend so much to get the nutrients that they need. You can also partner with people in maybe agriculture. What are the things that we can do in our environment? What are the things that we need? You don't have to eat foreign foods. In fact, most of the things we are engaging in is affecting us negatively. Obesity and things like that. We are not eating foods that have important nutrients. We are eating chemicals that they are using to preserve those things to bring to us. So please, I will tell that person that the person should work on themselves. They should know that they are very important. Just like he said, everybody is important. It's like if you say that the cleaner here is not important because the person is a cleaner. You can imagine what will happen if we come here and this place was not clean. So they have their own relevance. Everybody has their own relevance, and it's for you to understand that and appreciate yourself.
All right, thank you very much, Dr. Buhari.
Thank you very much. I want to add to what she said. Now, Nigeria is a developing country, and as such, there are some courses or there are some fields that are still growing. You have to realize that fact. But when she made mention of, okay, let's ask the person if he or she chose that course. It's very unlikely. Because when I finished from University of Ife, and I didn't choose psychology. In fact, when I was giving psychology, I didn't spell it correctly. To show you that I wasn't even interested. But there's something my daddy told me, that whatever you are doing, do it very well. One day the world will come for you. So I want to encourage you today, whoever you are that wrote that question, nutrition and dietetics is a very good course. Build yourself, develop yourself in that field. And it can even start from you. The world can even get to know more about Nigeria through that course because of you. So please just give it your very best and you'll see the difference, I assure you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ladele.
Well, I want to give an example that I saw online, which shows whatever you are doing, you can do it so well that you get recognition. Now, there is this porter online. I saw the story online. It's a video online that pushes patients from the theater to the ward after surgery. And he does it with a passion. He has been doing it for more than 20 years. And whenever he pushes patients, he asks them what's their belief and everything. He now says stories to them. He tells them stories. And by the time they get to the ward, they feel relieved. They feel better. And normally, if you look at it from the perspective of somebody pushing patients, you say, what's the importance of this person? But look at how far. I saw this story online. So how far his name and everything about him has gone far because he pushes the patient. But because he's doing it with what? With passion and doing it well. So whatever course you are doing, it's important that you try to do it very well and impact in people's life. That is key.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you very much for that. So let's take a question from the audience. All right.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Yes, I'm really enlightened, and I really want to say thank you very much, ma'am. So I have two questions here. My questions are on relationship and emotions. So the first one is relationship. I would like to share stories. So now, okay, on relationship, I will use a boy. On emotion, I will use a girl. So the relationship about the boy is that, like, this boy is, the relationship with the parents are not really good, and with friends. So because of that, it's a real story. Because of that, because of that, we went into some addiction. So we started from pornography to masturbation, like to the extent that we started masturbating till blood started coming out. Yeah, very serious. Blood was coming out, and still he can't stop. He was really addicted. So because of his parents and nobody to help him, no person to ask, and he has been looking for help, nothing. So because of this.
Now, we should also understand that adolescent stage is a stage of forming bonds, forming relationship, associating with people. So even if it might not show early, but it's going to show. Now, we should also note a lot of this is going to, unfortunately, there are not much parents here anyway. So most parents forget about this. They focus on making money and forget how do they bond with their children, how do they relate with children. It is when they just assume that put him in good school, provide everything he or she wants, and that makes them a good parent. But no. Now, for that person that you cannot get a solid relationship with your parents, the first thing you should realize is you cannot change your parents. That's where some people get it wrong. Unless you have a good relationship with a parent, that's when you can speak to them, you understand. It is when you seek help from outside, they now invite the parent. There's something the psychologists will tell us that they can do a family therapy to now evaluate what's the relationship, mother and children, father and child, and look at where is the dysfunction there. At that stage, it might help the parent to improve or work on it. It's going to be difficult from the child himself or herself. So the first thing is, for that person you mentioned, the person will need evaluation, help, and support from experts. Because if an addiction, now, like you mentioned, addiction can be in any form, not necessarily psychoactive substance alone. So by the time somebody is addicted, the person needs help. So the person needs to get professional help first. The professional will now explore the sources of the problem. What are the things perpetuating the problem? At that point, they might now decide to invite the parents and see how the intervention can come in. So that is key. Also relating to the others, the female decide. The other thing that is important for this generation that nobody has mentioned yet is breakfast. And I know that last, everybody go chop breakfast. So it's something also that this generation has to live with. Because I've had to see a lot of students that the precipitating factor is breakup in relationship. So, and it is important that also should be prepared for. Most of the time, some people use the relationship to boost their emotions. They are lonely, no support system. The only support system they have is that guy. So immediately the guy goes off, he goes down. So it's important that as an adolescent or young adult, you don't have one support system.
Okay.
Have multiple, so that if one is not available, others will be available. I didn't say boyfriend though. I said support system. I didn't say boyfriend. Please. The reason is this. It's even dangerous. Listen. It's dangerous because your generation does not believe in having relationship that does not include sex. Yes, your generation believes immediately we start dating today, tomorrow we start sleeping with each other. I've dealt with many and I know it's normal. So even that itself is something else on one side that I'm not going to. Now if you now decide to now have multiple boyfriends, you want to go kolomenta, you cannot handle it because one boyfriend has his own pressures, stress, expectation on its own. Not to now talk of multiple. Do you know how it feels that you are with brother A, brother B is now chatting you, say, who is calling you? No, it's my father. And you are now have to reflexly tell lies to cover another lie and to cover another lie. So it's not healthy psychologically to if I tell some people that if you must go into a relationship, you must evaluate it. The pros, the cons. Can you cope with it? Combining it with your academics. It is key. If you cannot, just maintain, don't worry, we are friends. As much as possible, because in the moment you say you are dating, it comes with what you people, you know as the reasons for it. So it's important. But if you now have issues involving maybe family members, you now have to look into the community. Either some extended family that can be trusted, or friends, or uncle, or religious people that can be trusted. But most of the time I advise people, don't put all your support, all your need for support in a person. Most of the time, because the person is also human, the person might be busy, might not be available. So by the time you can't get that support at the required time, it might not put you under emotional tension. So this is key.
All right, thank you very much. I think I just want to add one or two things. He has talked about the importance of presence of parents, and we don't have enough of them here. But we're also potential parents, so we should start learning some of those things. And then again, I would say, ask yourself when you get home. It's a very simple assignment. Try and write 20 different types of emotions that you can feel. You see, the problem with most people is that we can't even describe how we are feeling. We've not learned it, and we need to start learning it. If we give it name, then we then know how to deal with those. Another thing you should do is when you get back to your hostel, keep your phone, all of you, for 2 hours or 30 minutes, and see whether even with your roommate there's any connection. It's not just family. Most families, once you remove the TV and the phone, there's no relationship. That's when they realize, and that was what happened during COVID. A lot of people got to know that there was nothing. Start creating time to learn about the next person that is with you. By the time you start doing that, it will improve your communication skills. I remember in those days we had pen pals, and before you write that pen pal, you must actually sit down and think about what you want to say to this person. But you know, this time you don't even have to know the full spelling. Just write something. The person seems to know what they're saying. Start learning how to, speak with or communicate with somebody, and it also involves listening. It mustn't be you all the time. You try to understand what the other person is saying. By the time we do some of this, it will improve the problems we're talking about.
All right, thank you very much. Let's quickly take this. This person says, sometimes I have negative thoughts, and after a while, I realized how negative my thoughts were and began to have fear and anxiety. How do I cope with this?
Well, briefly, having persistent negative thoughts on its own is a symptom of depression. So if the negative thought is becoming more persistent, then the person might need evaluation, so that an expert will now look at other symptoms, other factors, and decide if the person is only having mental health problems or it has gotten towards an illness, a form of mental illness. And then at that point, the intervention will now come in. Is it talk therapy? Because at times, if it's just problems, they might decide to do a cognition therapy. Maybe your perception to things, the way you see things is more negative, your thinking pattern. So at that point, the talking therapy might involve cognitive restructuring to make it more fruitful, more positive. But if it is illness that might require medication, then also the evaluation will show and appropriate medication will be given. So it's important that at that level, the person requires evaluation first to determine what is there and what intervention will be useful.
All right, thank you very much. Any other question from the audience? Okay. Protocol.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Adepoju Sheyi-Bright. I'm a student of Ladoke Akintola University. And I have two questions, very short. Firstly, are phobias natural or are they mental disorders? Because for me, I have a couple of phobias and a lot of people are like, because any animal that has feathers, I'm always like running away from them. When I see them, I get to scream or run or something. And I have fears for balloons too. Do not have support from the family in terms of finances. So you have to work and, come to school as well, put things together. You want to cook, work, go to school. How can such students manage him or herself such that it doesn't affect the mental health of such students? Thank you.
Okay. Well,
thank you very much.
Phobia. Well, phobia, let me say fear. Fear of something is natural. Now it becomes phobia, which is a form of anxiety, if the fear is excessive in relationship to the object of fear. For example, if there is a big snake here now, all of us will run away. It is expected that the fear should be much. Compared to, like she mentioned, balloon. Someone that has fear for balloon. Now that's significant because typically you are not expected to have fear for balloon. So that's a form of phobia. Now it becomes a form of disorder that requires intervention if it is now affecting your functioning. Maybe because of this phobia, you can't do this, you can't go to class, you can't. For example, I remember in those days, there's a footballer that has phobia for flight. Dennis Beckham. And for Champions League matches, he would not go with them, except the local matches that just involves train and some other things. So that one shows that it's affecting the person's functioning. So if the phobia is affecting functioning, the person requires intervention. There are various behavioral treatments, some form of talk therapy that could help out over time for such phobias. Now, on the issue, the second question is relating to.
Sorry, your second question, please.
Okay, my second question was that for students that don't.
Okay,
that
no worries. Yes, I get it.
Thank you, sir.
A student working and studying, the truth is, there is chances the person is more mentally stable than the person that is being given all the financial funds. Because most likely the resilience level is higher than the other person. So the chances the person will bring, because for the person to set out to work is an action that shows that the person has evaluated his financial base and knows that he must act on it. The major issue is how does the person manages the time? Time management is key. Then how does the person do a self-evaluation of his academic capacities and how he can adjust appropriately based on the less time available. So those are the challenges that the person needs to cope with. But on the person's mental health, the chances that the person will cope is higher because the person is already facing a major problem and is already coping with the problem. However, if the person raises his or her expectation higher than what is available, it can now tilt or affect the mental balance or mental status of the students.
All right, thank you very much. This question goes to Ayodeji. This person says, to the final year medical students, how did you cope? Can you share your experience? What did you do differently?
Okay, thank you for that question. Okay, so after my part 1 exam, I realized that I couldn't be alone. I was that person who always was self-sufficient. I felt like Shebi is to read and pass this thing. I'll read and I'll pass. So I had gotten used to being alone, to do things my way and pass my exams, because for someone who had written JAM 5 times before getting medicine, there's a level of experience you feel like you have gotten. But medical school will unlearn it. You realize that you actually don't know anything, because what medical school does is it brings different brains together. And if you're not a genius, you will know that you are playing. Do you understand? So when I had the setback, I realized that I needed to have friends. I had issues with having friends because I had a language issue. Most of my departmental guys, when they talk to themselves, I'm a Yoruba boy, but I grew up in Abuja. So most of my departmental mates were always speaking Yoruba. And for every time I try to speak my Yoruba is very epileptic. So I didn't want to be seen as a more, that's guy. So I rather just be by myself. But I realized that I had to first love my language. I had to be willing and ready to be abused and insulted. Shebi's result I want to get. If I pass my exam, I'm fine. I don't need to speak Yoruba with you anymore. So I had to have friends. I had to be willing to come out of my comfort zone, go for discussions. I had to just make sure because I'm an introvert. I like being in my self-development, because medical school will teach you that you really cannot, the 2 hours you think you are reading is not enough. You need to stretch yourself and do more. And then you need to be mentally prepared for every exam that comes your way, because you are as prepared. When exam comes to you, it either comes to you prepared or not prepared. So when the exam comes, you have either passed or failed even before writing the exam. So I was somebody who had to read 4 or 5 times. Yes, 4 or 5 times before I get a grasp of a concept or something. There were people who had to read once and they just get it. But I'm someone who had to read so much time. So I had to start reading from the beginning of a semester. So if I'm reading this, I have to come back to it again, because the next 2 hours you're asking me, I've forgotten it. So I had to do these things to make sure that.
Thank you very much, Ayodeji.
Well, for medical school, simple advice. Number 1, know yourself. You don't compare. If you see everybody going to night class and your system does not accustomed to that, if you go to night class, you will fail. That is very key. Number 2, failure is part of medical school. Yes. As I'm speaking to you, I failed during medical school. I failed during postgraduate. So that does not determine where you will get to. So failing exam is just telling you that you need to shore up your preparation, evaluate, look at where there are deficiency, and go forward. So it's part of life. So don't see it as, why will I fail? I told somebody, the first time I ever failed any exam, whether from nursery, was in medical school. And it was a great shock for my parents. Because when they see you as when the cutoff is 90% in secondary school, I will get it. And you now get to medical school, they have to, at some point, when they say, Morobe Moweni. But luckily, I was prepared for it. It didn't hit me. I just felt, his receipt, we'll do it. And it was, when I had the receipt, luckily for me, larger percentage of the class had receipt. Doing that, your set is enjoying. 50% had receipt. More than 50. Yes, that's my people. You will have asked somebody.
So that's 1. Then 2, about beliefs. What are the clear practical steps you recommend to anybody to change a belief for the better? Like a self-limiting belief, something that is not working for you that you want to change. And then how long does it take generally? Thank you.
How long does what?
Does it take to change a belief for the better? So what do I do to change a belief, and how long does it take? And I would appreciate practical experiences, sir. Thank you.
Dr. Buhari, do you want to attend to that?
Well, I've already said some of those things. You need to ask yourself pertinent questions, just like I've said. What do you believe in? What do you stand for? Those are self-reflective questions that you should ask yourself. Oh, what do I want to? Define some of those things. Ask yourself and be truthful to yourself in answering those things. Now, as you're answering those things, some things will be pleasurable to you. Some will be, because even your conscience, this one is wrong. Then you know that you need to improve on all those. And practice it constantly. Always ask yourself those questions. Am I where I want to be? Have I done what I'm supposed to do? I think those are the questions you need to ask yourself from time to time. Again, reassess your values, reassess your belief system. Is this the correct thing? If your mind is already telling you there's something about it, then you yourself should know that there's already something wrong about it. And then ask yourself, how can I improve on it?
Okay.
And then you're talking about time frame for changing. That's already putting a problem. Because we all said we all have different personalities. We all have different circumstances surrounding us. So it depends. There's no fixed time for anybody.
All right, thank you very much. Person wrote, seek help, help. Therapy is expensive. You all agree that therapy is expensive? All right. Now, but some mental health issues are due to economic status. How do I afford it? Dr. Ladele, over to you.
Okay, thank you for that question. It reminded me of, there was a particular, in 2020, somebody attempted taking his life on Third Mainland Bridge. So my younger sister's church member. So she called me, and I called my colleague in Lasut to go help the situation. By the time he got there, they already taken the guy to the police station. They already even beating him up for attempting to take his life. Afterwards, it took a lot of persuasion before they could release him into my colleague's hands. And when my colleague now told him the price for therapy, he was like, I'm even attempting suicide because I don't have money. So I agree, therapy is expensive. And that's why the government has subsidized it for us. Most of the time, we want private practice. It's expensive. We can't afford it. So go to the teaching hospital, whereby you have Department of Psychiatry, and you have licensed practitioners there that can help you. But when you want private practice, maybe you want one-on-one that doesn't have to, because of stigma, some people even prefer that one. That I don't want to come to psychiatry department. I want to see you as a person. That's when you might not. I don't even think you can actually afford it. So yes, but maximize what the government has provided. Go to the Department of Psychiatry. Anybody can have mental health issues. Only people without brain. Do you have somebody here without brain? Those are the only ones, because it's disease of the brain. So please, we know it's expensive. Go to the hospital. You'll be able to afford that. It's actually very cheap in the hospital. And sometimes we do pro bono, yeah? We see people free of charge. Last month, there was somebody I was seeing. My colleague is aware of this particular person, free of charge. I'll be the one to remind her it's 2 o'clock. I got tired. I'll be the one to remind her, we're supposed to meet today. I'm helping you, and I'm the one doing the alarm clock. I don't think that's fair. When I see you are not interested, I cut it. So our predisposition, how we receive these things, is also very important. Sometimes people just feel that, like when we were doing our internship in UCH, there was somebody we were managing for anxiety disorder. And after the first few sessions, he was like, is that all? And I was like, oh, what do you mean by is that all? He said, you won't give me drugs. Because people always see drug. If you have not given them drug, you've not done anything. And sometimes we do placebo treatment just to ensure we get them the best of care. So please go to the teaching hospitals or Yaba neuropsychiatric hospitals, Aro, Uselu, all these government hospitals. You'll be able to afford that. Stop being stigmatized.
Thank you very much.
Well, for LAUTECH students, if you need of any support, emotional care, and you don't want to come to the teaching hospital, you can go to the University Health Center. I've been seeing people with emotional challenges there in the last 7-8 years or more. And it does not come at any cost. So you just go to the social worker there or the doctors there. They have my phone number. They will call me. We fix a time, and we attend to it as appropriate. Also, from some of the institutions, I know UI, University of Ibadan, you have ASIDO, some NGOs that also helps with mental health issues. ASIDO Foundation.
And I also want to add that sometimes it's not even that people don't have the money. It's about prioritizing. And people, when it comes to health matters, people don't prioritize. The same person that is saying they don't have money, you might find out that that person is using iPhone 14 and is buying data every day. So it's also about knowing that this is something that is important, that I must really actually take care of. And I find that, at times that, just like Dr. Adadede said, when you are giving free, sometimes people don't value it. They waste your time. But when they know there's something at stake, then they take it more seriously. So it's about also prioritizing, knowing that this thing, I need to take care of it. It's something that if I don't take care of my health, then I can't achieve those other things I want to achieve in life.
All right, thank you very much, Dr. Buhari. I would like to add that it is not a sign of weakness to seek help. You're feeling unusual, your emotion is at stake, you can't explain, reach out. You don't have to wait till you get to your lowest, just reach out. Teaching Hospital is not so far from here, and also the organizers of this program, they also have what they are working at. Reach out to them. They know how to get you the help that you need. We hope that you have been able to get one or two things from this panel discussion today. Can you please appreciate our panelists? On justice to everything we have done here today.
This lovely Lautech, you've kept the promise. Now we're singing, all dressed in splendor, as your promise again is kept. Oh dear sweet rainbow, allure my feelings, make so timeless. One race for zenith, one race for zenith. We together began one day. You led me on as we've come this far. We fixed our shoulders and determined just to win. You led me on as the race was made.
All dressed in splendor, as your promise again is kept. Oh, dear sweet rainbow, allure my feelings, make so timeless. One race for zenith, we together began one day. You led me on.
Hello. It has really been an exhilarating afternoon listening to this panel discussion. Please, a round of applause for our panelists again. I think we can do better. A round of applause for our panelists again. So to appreciate them further, we'll be doing the Superstars clap for all of our panelists. They did a very good job. Roll it, keep rolling, jam it, jam it, jam it. Give it to them. Thank you very much. While we ended the panel discussion, we had the arrival of the Dean of Student Affairs of the Ladoke Akintola University of Technology. On a standing ovation, we would like to welcome him to the high table. We are indeed glad to have you, sir. Thank you very much for coming. Please, a round of applause for him. That is the Dean of Student Affairs, Ladoke Akintola University of Technology. Anything that concerns students, we have him, and he's a father to all of us. Thank you very much for coming. We are delighted to see you, sir. I would also like to acknowledge the presence of Professor A.A. Akintunde, Distinguished Professor, Cardiology, and he is also a member of the Board of Directors, Stillwaters Mental Health Foundation. Please, a round of applause for him. Very distinguished ladies and gentlemen, this man is a pillar of support to the Stillwaters Foundation. He is a father, a mentor, a role model. He is a teacher. Please, a round of applause for him. Thank you very much, sir. Sir, I would like to have you on the high table, sir. Thank you so much. He made out time. He's not meant to be here today, but he made out time for us, for his children, to see all our faces. Thank you very much, sir, for coming. I'd also like to acknowledge the presence of one very instrumental person who has contributed our effort, our resources, our time towards the success of this event. And honestly, an event like this would not be holding without the continuous support of partners and sponsors. Please welcome with me on the high table, Mrs. Abimbola Tiamiyu. She is the CEO and Registrar of the Chartered Institute of Insurance, Nigeria. Please, a round of applause for her. Thank you very much for coming. A standing ovation, please. She's an instrumental part of this organization, and we are glad to have her in our midst today. Thank you very much for coming, ma. We love you. We adore you. We don't take you for granted. Thank you so much, ma. So on a lighter note, while the panel discussion was on, I heard several people saying that you said there will be giveaway, you've not done your giveaway. Are we ready for the giveaway? Are you ready for the giveaway? Just like you all know me, it's not going to be really, really easy. So it's going to be a quiz section. If you know you're excited for this section, make some noise. So this is how we'll be playing the quiz game. Once I ask a question, the first person to signify an answer correctly wins a very special prize. And I have a number of those prizes to give out. I'm not going to be saying that yet until we have our winners. Are we ready? So for this particular question, if you are a team member, a board member, or a volunteer of the organization, you have no right to answer this question. Yes. So I prefer that we have delegates from other universities answer this question because Mr. Tumishe said it in his welcome address. So if we had listened to his welcome address, we would have heard the answer. Are we ready? When is the vision time for TSW? Grab it. The first person to get to the front to answer the question. I think there's a wireless microphone there. Or the ushers can help us. Give it to anyone. I didn't know there was a microphone there.
November 3rd, 2019.
Please, a round of applause for him. So if you had listened to his welcome address, you'd have heard him say that. So the second question says, what is the motto at the TheStillWaters? If you're a volunteer, you can't answer this question. And if you're a team member, you can't answer this question. Anybody?
I think there are 7 universities.
Any other person?
I think there are 8 universities.
You think we are 8 universities?
Yes. 8 universities.
That's the last trial. Anybody else? No one has gotten this correctly.
9.
What did you say?
9.
9. Please, a round of applause for her. So for the maiden edition of the Mental Health Convention, we have 9 universities gathered here today. Thank you very much. So we have 4 winners already. Okay, our next question. At the meet and greet section yesterday, let me see if my people are here. At the meet and greet section yesterday, what was our way of introducing each other? In order. In order. Okay.
It was name first.
Name first.
The school.
The
level,
school.
The level, and then. Was it?
Incorrect.
Incorrect.
Yes, incorrect. Another person.
Okay, it was
In order.
your name,
Okay.
your school, your department.
Okay.
The other, any other thing you do apart from school.
Okay, and how did we do that?
Okay, like you said, the person should not mention the stuff, but should describe it.
Please, a round of applause for him. So for the benefit of those who were absent yesterday, during our meet and greet section yesterday, we introduced ourselves in this order. Our names, our department, our school, then what we do without saying the name. For example, as a mental health advocate, you could have described yourself as, I help people. I would just describe what you do without saying the name. So that was our means of engagement yesterday at the meet and greet section. Thank you very much. So we have 2 more prizes to be won. But till then, I would like to announce to the 5 of you that you just won yourself a ticket to... Anybody wants to guess? To Maldives, or what did you say? To Paris, or where? Do you think TheStillWaters cannot afford Paris tickets for all of you? You are doubting us. Okay, so without wasting more time, I would like to announce to you that you just won yourself a ticket to the dinner and award night tomorrow. Please, a round of applause for them. And if you've gotten a ticket, then you're allowed to bring someone along. So automatically, your slot goes to your friend. Please, a round of applause for all of them. So that was just to lighten our moods, you know, we've been sitting all along, and I think that was a bit interesting. So at this juncture, I would like to acknowledge all our online viewers. We would like to say a very big thank you to you for holding up to this moment. They joined since 10 a.m. and they are still here, streaming this event, listening to our panelists, they listened to the keynote speech, and it's so beautiful to have our virtual attendees. Thank you very much, and we acknowledge your presence. Now, I would like to have the award presentation for our panelists. Mr. Timishik, I need your attention. So this is just an addition and another vote of thanks to the Dean of Student Affairs, this facility, the fact that we're able to choose this date, the fact that we're able to use this facility, the fact that you got an invitation in your student's mail would all be attributed to him. We say a very big thank you to you, sir. Thank you so much for your support. Award of recognition will be presented to the Dean of Student Affairs of the #1, the most prestigious the best state university in Nigeria, Ladoke Akintola University of Technology. Please welcome Dr. AJ Adepoju. We can do better. This is our Dean of Student Affairs. I would like to invite Professor Akintunde to please help present this award. Thank you very much, sir. I'd also like to invite one of our special and esteemed guests for today. And this is an award of recognition presented to Dr. Oluwafisayo Adenike Adebimpe. She's a clinical psychologist, Deputy Dean, Student Affairs. Please, a round of applause for her. That's our mommy at the Student Affairs building. Please, a round of applause for her. So we'd like to have Professor Akintunde help present this award. Thank you very much, sir. Professor Akintunde would like to have you help present this award.
Destiny, I have waited patiently. I have vision, oh I believe. I know I can.
And for this next category of award, it's an award of appreciation presented to Mrs. Taiwo Oladayo Ayobami. She's a clinical psychologist, Department of Psychiatry, Lautech Teaching Hospital, and she was also one of our panelists for today. Please, a round of applause for her. Thank you very much, ma, for your efforts towards the success of this mental health convention. So I would like to invite Professor Ayodele to help present this award. Please, a round of applause for Professor Ayodele.
Here we go, it's getting close. Now it's just who wants it most. It's just life, that's how it is. 'Cause we have our strengths and weaknesses. Oh, I have vision, can't you see? I'm on the move, make way for me. Stand up for the champion, stand up, stand up, stand up.
The next award of recognition will be presented to one of our pillars, like I described her the other time. She is very instrumental to the success of this event, and that is Mrs. Abimbola Tiamiyu, Registrar CEO, Secretary to Council, Chartered Insurance Institute of Nigeria. Thank you very much, ma, for making it to the TheStillWaters Mental Health National Convention.
And when I fall down, I have to pick myself back up. And when I fall down, I have to pick myself back up. And when I fall
And the next award of appreciation is to be presented to Dr. Oladele Olaiton. She's a clinical psychologist, Department of Psychiatry, Lautech Teaching Hospital. Please, a round of applause for her. And to all present this award is Mrs. C.A. Oyewole. Please, a round of applause for her. Please applaud her better. We can do better. Thank you.
stand up, stand up for the champions, for the champions. Stand up for the champions, for the champions. Stand up for the champions.
The next award of appreciation is to be presented to Dr. Mrs. Buhari, Department of Psychiatry, University of Ilorin Teaching Hospital. Please, a round of applause for her. Thank you very much, ma, for coming. We value you and we cherish you so much.
Stand up for the champions, for the champions. Stand up for the champions, for the champions. Stand up for the champions, for the champions. Stand up.
The next award of appreciation is to be presented to Dr. Alatishe, Head of Department of Psychiatry, Lautech Teaching Hospital. Please a round of applause for him. And to all present this award is no other person than Dr. Mrs. Ilori. Please a round of applause for her. Thank you very much, ma'am. Please a round of applause for her. The last but not the least, this award of presentation is to be presented to our students' figure at the panel discussion, Ayodeji Takate, final year medical student, Ladoke Akintola University of Technology. Please a round of applause for him.
And when I fall down, I have to pick myself back up. And when I fall down, I have to pick myself back up. And when I fall down.
And officially, we've come to the end of the award presentation. But before then, I'll be asking a very, very simple question. And let me see if another person will be winning my tickets. What is the hashtag for this convention? In 1, 2, 3. Okay. Ushers. You can. What's the hashtag? The pace setting experience. Please a round of applause for him. So you've won yourself a ticket to the dinner tomorrow. Officially, we'd like to say a very big thank you to all of us for holding up to these very moments. One of my joy is to see young people come together to learn under the same atmosphere. In the new society that we live in now, where young people are only concerned about making money. Of course, all of us here are also concerned about making money. They're just concerned about making money, social media trends. There are still some set of intentional young people who are still ready to learn and also contribute their own quota towards community development. And that's why we have all of you, pace setters, superstars who are breaking the norm, challenging the status quo, and of course, setting new rules in the community. And I believe that in years to come, we'll have students who are not only students, but students who live a balanced life, a well-balanced life, who are doing well in academics, who are doing well physically, psychologically, mentally. And I think that's the whole end goal of all of this. Thank you so much. Please celebrate yourselves. Please celebrate yourselves. I think I can see some of the faces that I saw yesterday at the meet and greet. And it's indeed beautiful to see our faces again today. Our delegates from EXU, from Unilorin, from UI, from Ambrose Ali, from Lautech, from the Nigerian Dental University, from Abuja, all the way from Abuja. I think that's a whole lot. Please celebrate yourselves again. And I know that coming this year, for the next edition, I know that we all will not be returning the same way, right? We are now leaving this room as empowered students who now can maintain and balance their mental health. Thank you so much for holding up to this moment. My name is Ogunkola Ifeoluwa Esther, and it has been an utmost honor hosting the Maiden edition of the TheStillWaters Mental Health Convention. And at this juncture, I would like to invite Mrs. Abimbola Tiamiyu for the vote of thanks. Please a round of applause for her.
This lovely Lautech, you've kept the promise. Now we're singing.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, sirs and ma. I stand on existing protocols. There's no other vote of thanks I can give that the young lady has not given, but I will just do what Tumishi has assigned me to do. On behalf of the TheStillWaters Foundation, I want to say a big thank you to the Lautech College or the council or board of the school, the whole institution. On behalf of the foundation, I also say thank you to the College of Medicine that has given them that opportunity to shine and to have this convention. Yeah, thank you. I'm fine. It's not easy to be a prof or to be a doctor, as in a PhD holder. I'm not talking of medical doctors. I have 3 of them as siblings, so I'm used to them. But I'm talking of, it's not easy to be a prof or a PhD holder, so I recognize and I say thank you to them for passing on the knowledge, teaching us, training us, frustrating us at times, but at least still doing the job. So all the professors and doctors in the house, we say a big thank you to you for making this happen. I also say thank you to the mother of the convener, Mrs. C.A. Oyewole. Thank you for the good job done. We appreciate you. We can never do without the mothers. Or can we do without we mothers? Ladies in the house, definitely not. A big thank you to you, ma. I also say thank you on behalf of the TheStillWaters Foundation to all the invited guests from far and near, from Ogbomoso, from outside Ogbomoso. By the way, I schooled in FGC Ogbomoso, so I'm also an Ogbomoso person. All the delegates, especially those that came from outside of town, we say a big thank you to you. All the journalists, the pressmen, the technicians, the people that supported with linking virtual participants, we say thank you. The team that put this together, if you're in the house, because we tend to forget the teams most times, so I personally want on behalf of the association to say thank you to them. That's Atewo Logun Faith. If you're here, please just stand up, wave your hand. Please, let's appreciate them. Ogukomide Tayo, thank you so much for the job well done. Oyewole Adetola Ololade, thank you so much for the job well done. Olaniyan Busayo Iyanu, thank you so much for the job well done. Babawale Diana Oluwaferanmi, thank you so much for the job well done. Adetunji Adekemi Florence, thank you so much for the job well done. Aino Inioluwa Mary, thank you so much for the job well done. Olasukomi Ono Adedapo, thank you so much for the job well done. Sadiq Taufik Ishola, thank you, no, Shola, thank you so much for the job well done. And the last but not the least, and also the one with the longest name, Moshokwe Foluwa Oladumoye Oyeride, thank you so much for the job well done. Last but not the least, or before the last person, we also want to say thank you to God, God Almighty, for the gift of life, for making us to be here, possible for the event to hold. And the last human being I would recognize, I can't finish this vote of thanks without recognizing him. I don't know whether he has been recognized already or not, happens to be my senior in school. He brought Tumisha and I together. That's Dr. Adioye Oyewole. That's the father of the convener. Please, I would like all of us to please stand up and give him a round of applause, a standing ovation. He's not here physically, but I can tell you that he has joined us virtually online. Dr. Oyewole, we say a big thank you to you for making this happen. To the Oyewole family, the Oyewole clan, we say thank you. It's not easy to be a family of 5 with 4 medical doctors and a mother that is taking good care of them and making sure they all excel. So once again, a big round of applause to our mother. We mothers would always take the shine. I know daddies pay the bills, but we mothers would always be mothers. Thank you so much, Ma. We really appreciate you. Dr. Oyewole, wherever you are, we say thank you to you. God bless all of us, and thank you, everyone.
And determined just to win. You let me know as the race was.
Thank you very much, ma. Please, a round of applause for her. So right now, we'd like to have our dignitaries step outside at the photo booth for a group picture. Ushers, please, can you help lead them to the photo booth? But before we all rise up, the dignitaries can leave. I want all of us to perform an exercise together. Are we ready? So this is what we are doing. So when I say